17th ranked teams join the fray. That's 6 teams qualify. Week 6, last chance qualifier. 2-day matches on September 20th to 21st. 11 remaining teams and the 18th ranked team face off. Only 6 will survive. That gives us 12 teams for the ultimate showdown. Grand final, October 5th. Welcome to Champion Rush mode. The rules: get to 80 points first. Then, secure a booyah to take the crown. If no team gets a booyah after entering Champion Rush, the highest total points wins. The point system is simple. First place, 12 points. Second, 9. Third, 8. All the way down to 0 points for 11th and 12. The battlefield is set. 12 teams, 1 final challenge. This is Champion Rush mode. One strike can shift the game. One win can spark the rise. This is Free Fire World Series Battle Royale mode.
Garena. First Blood.
Use the portal goal to quickly reposition, but Razia finds ahead of Diamond. And here, that breaks through all of the players of Evo straight into the back lines of Virtus Pro. Then Rebel Rush getting them close enough, but PE!
So for the PE Esports fan, you guys can loudly shout out that our team is the best.
Kontol jatuh lagi.
Get ready for the next evolution of battle. This is Free Fire World Series SEA 2025 Fall Battle Royale mode. This season, it's all about strategy, adaptation, and domination. Let's break it down. Tournament rules. Each player must equip a unique active skill. no duplicates allowed. And the map pool, 6 battlegrounds. In the knockout stage, teams battle across 6 matches, each on a different map, randomly selected from the pool, with no repeats. But in the grand finals, it's a whole new level. Up to 10 games will be played for games 1 to 6. Maps are randomly chosen. No repeats. From game 7 onward, the map pool resets and is randomly reshuffled again. What's at stake? A total prize pool of $300,000. Champion, $100,000. Second place, $40,000. Third and fourth, $20,000 each. Final MVP, $4,000. And every day, Team of the Day earns $250. The journey begins August 15th. The knockout stage runs for 6 weeks. Week 1 to 2, 18 teams, 3 groups, 12 matches each. Each day, matches are played between 2 groups, A versus B, B versus C, A versus C. After 36 total matches, teams are ranked 1 to 18. Week 3 to 5, the first place qualifier. Starting August 30th, top 12 teams battle it out. The winner of each day secures a grand final slot. And gradually, 13th to 17th.
Hello everyone and welcome. This is another week of the FFWS fall, and now we're on to knockouts one more time. What are your thoughts about this season, Neptune?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the final week of the season for the knockout stage. I'm really excited, and hopefully this is where we're going to see a lot of performance being turned around compared to what we've seen in the previous week, because I would love to see some of the teams who hasn't made it from the previous week to really perform right now. But Dash Bunny, I'm really excited to have you next to me on this right now, because it's been a while though. It's been a while since we cast together, and I would love to really bring fire to this tournament, because the teams need to do it. This is the last chance for them.
It really is the last chance for them as well. As we saw, I think we've already had a few weeks of knockouts already. I believe this is the final week. And also on top of that as well, I think you mentioned before about how some teams are not doing so well, how some teams are very excelling as well. So I am very excited to see what you think. Let's talk a bit about the performances. I mean, you were on the broadcast for a few times already. What do you think of the performances before, and what are you expecting for this week?
Well, I know some Indonesian team had a little bit dip in terms of performance, but there is a few turnaround stories, and this is also one thing why on our prediction RQ is there, because from last week they didn't perform that well, and I guess both of us believe that they will be performing this time around. But there's a little bit of difference in terms of our prediction. I do have Virtus Pro as well as WAG, and for your side you have Evo, Divine, and Todak. So can you tell me some of the things that you want to see, especially from Evos and Todak?
Okay, so for me personally, I think a lot of my information came from what I casted before last, which is at EWC. And I feel like these teams performed very well in that tournament. But I know in the previous week's team of the day was like our RQ Kazu for about 2 weeks. I think week 1, day 1, and week 1, day 3.
Right.
They did very well. Falcons had their moment to shine, and also Todak. So while we didn't really get to see a lot more from Falcons and Todak, I feel like for Team Todak, they are the team to shine. I think they can do it. But regardless, let's talk a little bit about the tournament format here. For you guys who just came into the broadcast, we have 6 teams with 1 team of the day from week 3 to 5. And interestingly enough, out of all of these teams, you have week 6 where the last chance will be happening very soon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it starts today up until tomorrow, and there's no more reset after this, after the day. So what they will be getting today will be carried over to tomorrow, and the top 6 after 2 days would be heading into grand finals. But for the tiebreaker rules, it is working. It has been working for quite some time. If in case there is a tie, they go with the number of booyahs and then goes with the total elimination. If that is still a tie, we go for the final round survival rank. So that will definitely gives us information who is the best of the team. And I guess there's also a preview of this from some of the weeks as well, wherein 2 teams has been tied, but 1 was above them. But another thing is a unique active skill. And I know this is something that excites you when you saw this. This is where everyone from the team would be having different active skill. And it gives a little bit more flavor on how the game style or play style of the team is.
Okay, so in your opinion, what is your favorite active skill so far, and what is the type of use you like to see before we talk about the format?
In terms of active skill, this is more of the Oscar that I love to see because of the aggression, and this is what they need right now, because aggression is something that they need to get all those elimination points, because once we go into the grand finals, they need to reach 80 points before they activate the champion rush condition. And once that happens, once they grab the following match booyah, they will be declared the champion. So I'm really looking forward for that to happen for grand finals, and these are the 12 teams who is eyeing their spot for those for that grand final spotlight, because all these 12 teams haven't reached the top of day from the past 2 weeks of our phase 2, and I want to see them perform even more.
Yeah, and I think we had a bit of brief conversation about the different countries. I think we've seen RRQ shine, as well as a few other teams. EVOS had their moment in EWC as well. And a few teams I'm quite surprised that they haven't really shown their shine quite yet is 2 of the Malaysian teams, right? So I want to see them really rise up to the top. But anyways, team lineup time. I'm pretty sure that we're all very familiar with all of these teams right now. In your opinion, I know you've done your predictions, but if you want to really zero in on a team, which team would you really recommend that everyone pay attention to?
Well, I guess it's EVOS. As you did mention, they did take the crown and the champion on EWC. There's a lot of hopes, a lot of performance for this team, and I'd like to see a little bit more, because if I remember from last season of spring, they just went in up until the final day. And I think the same story is happening right now, because they have a chance to qualify early, but now they're part of the last chance qualifier. So not quite sure if this is a ruse coming from the team, because I know that they can perform, but The only question is, not only for me, but also viewers out there, what's happening to them? Why are they not taking the #1 spot? Is it something that they want to really doesn't give out any information on their tactics, or is it just how Evo's Divine is playing?
Oh, what about, okay, hear me out.
Yeah.
What if it's a buff to play last chance? Remember, if you qualify early, you don't get to play an extra week, right? So, in order to be able to remain consistent, get those reps in on the big stage, what if it was a ruse for them to play up here in the last chance, high pressure situation, qualify, and still remain hot to the grand finals? What if?
Well, that's a good storyline. I mean, definitely they will have momentum. There's not so much of rest because they will keep up the gears like moving. The engine hot all throughout and not even taking a week's rest. Though there is a few days and that they are resting. So I don't know, probably just finding out as well what other tactics they can use, and that's one good thing about the format that we have right now, because there's plenty of days on the knockout stage. There are plenty of times that the teams can pull out a lot of strategies, and we've seen that even from the top dogs. They from when this format has been introduced, they didn't show up that much, and they were just, I'm not saying playing wacky, but they're just trying different tactics, even active skills, even some rotations is different. So this is something that they might be able to use in grand finals, and hopefully they do.
Yeah. Now, I think as we go into today as well, we talked a little bit about weak performances. Let's talk about map performances. Which team do you think has been doing well across all maps? I understand some teams are better on certain maps, but what team has been consistent throughout the entirety of all different maps?
And when we put all of those together from the groups or from the teams that will be playing on this last chance, I'm seeing RRQ right now. They're topping the board on Alpine, Bermuda, as well as Kalahari. So I want to see more of that coming from the team. But again, did mention that there's a little bit of dip in their performance from last week, not only in Battle Royale but also in Clash Squad. So I'm hoping that they were able to recover from that and change things, favoring them right now.
You know what's really interesting? I mean, when you think about these teams, right? I have this, I would say, call it a controversial theory. Teams that do well early, it's so easy for other teams to really zero in on them, understand their rotation. I mean, we have so much. It's a pretty long season, right? There's gonna be a lot of VODs of them out there. So when you get zeroed in, and you do well very, very early. You have it's basically like a target on your back here. So teams can start identifying how the rotations go. Do we want or do not want to play against to rotate to a team like RRQ? How exactly is RRQ holding and taking their team fights? It's just data out there for many of these teams, as opposed to teams that are very quiet early and then completely explode in the last few weeks, even in last chance making it to the end. You hide a lot of strats, and you're still not sure. Our teams are still not sure how many more pages you have in that playbook. In terms of comps, in terms of rotations. There's just a lot of, I would say, depth when it comes to how a team does their playbook when it comes to this game, and it's always very fun to see a team just change it up going into different weeks.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because from the previous season when Onyx Olympus was champion of spring, and they also qualified a little bit early from last week, this is something that it's the same question arises. So are they really that strong, or are they really that tactical to be able to grab the championship and qualify as well to the grand finals? Because at some point, a lot of teams, even viewers out there, are underestimating teams like Onyx Olympus, but they are showing up right now. From the previous season, even for this season, comparing like spring, they are part of the teams who went in top a little bit early and not reaching this level of the knockout stage. So those are the things that some of the teams, especially the top dogs, might be doing as well. So it's a good theory that you pointed out there, and we've been talking about that. And I want to see if that really is fruitful, because we were talking about RRQ, an Indonesian team. I know Evo's Divine has already grabbed that championship on EWC, but we haven't seen that much stride in Southeast Asia grabbing a championship. We've seen Thailand do it, and we mostly see them do it, and Indonesia is at some point second or third. So we want that to happen for Indonesia as well, so that all across the board, Onyx Olympus, Evo's Divine, and probably a different team all throughout this year has grabbed the championship for Free Fire.
Yeah, it looks very, it looks very interesting, right? When you see how different countries are starting to really catch up. And, I think Indonesia has so much good talent. I think at one point, I love the fact that you brought up Onyx Olympus here. Because if you remember at EWC, this team came close, right? But you could tell before the last game happened, there was a struggle for them. They started to just mentally break. And I am curious, EWC wasn't that long ago. Did they manage to fix that mentality? Because I feel like under pressure, this team really crumbled. But this season, they're already all the way at the top right now. Was it a mentality, moment that they managed to fix? Or are they just very comfortable in their element? But that's for us to find out soon when we go into the grand finals. But for now, let's zero in onto today, the game schedule, the knockout stage, week 6, the final week, as you mentioned before. We have our usual maps coming into today as well, 6 total maps. You mentioned that RRQ topped the charts for a lot of the weeks as well, but you also told me that they haven't really been performing. In this day, what are your expectations for this particular team?
Well, since they've proven, RRQ already proven their worth in the early parts of knockout stage, I think especially for the first map, Bermuda, but it will be scrappy because this is an OG map. Everyone knows this map. Everyone knows the rotation, their drop spot, and as well as how to deal with the flight path. But speaking of flight path, we are ready to show where the path will be in the green grass of Bermuda, because this is the beginning of the last chance qualifier into the grand finals from the knockout stage. It is coming from the south to the north, and I'm loving the flight path right now. I know I mentioned from the past that I want a rough flight path, but for all the teams that want to qualify, I'm praying that everything would be similar just like this.
Yeah, I think that, when you come to these kind of high pressure cooker situations, last chance situations, you want to be able to have, give teams that equal footing going into tournaments. But at the same time, us as casters, as viewers at home, we love chaos.
Exactly. I mean, chaotic might be at some point poetic in most cases, and that is where that's what we live for as casters. But right now, there's not so much of chaos that will be happening for RQ. They will still be staying into Rimnam Village, but I think I spoke too soon because we are seeing 3 teams occupying Plantation. We have Magna Esports, Evos, as well as Virtus Pro in the same area.
I love the fact that you're bringing up Magna here. There was a conversation earlier, we talked about Magna has a lot of those veteran names, but they still haven't been able to find their identity quite yet. And I would love to see them really show up today. It is the last chance after all, and we would love for Malaysia to also be up there with the names such as Thailand and Indonesia. We saw Nameless, throw out a few of just pot shots toward the members of EVOS, and I think that in this situation, I would love to see a big fight come up between these two teams. Just kind of farm up all of these points early, give you a big lead compared to the rest.
Oh, let's see. I mean, speaking of first fight, we are seeing Evo's Rasia going down from the hands of the Axel, and we know this guy, he does have accuracy, but Ray is trying to put in those pressure onto Magna Esports, and June has gone down. It is just a core gameplay coming from Ray, not even moving that much, and I don't think he has been spotted just yet.
No.
Even Coach Hill has a good angle to go in and put more pressure on the MEC.
I love this off angle he's playing right now. It's very cheeky, very disgusting. MEC realized too soon that Ray is just playing off this corner as well. The positioning coming in from EVOS is just huge. They have, I think, a 3-1, I believe, going on. So that's why Ray, I think Fairly was able to just really take away, all of those kills from a corner because everyone was just zeroed in from another side of that map. The Zom took a bit of damage earlier from EVOS. He's very close. He's at first contact coming in forward. And he's trying to see whether or not he can isolate these fights.
Let's see though if he can isolate, or will he be the one isolated?
No.
And there goes a push, but Coach Hill and the Troll gone as well as Wong Am. And that's what I'm talking about, the Oscar gameplay to break down those glue walls as well as take advantage of that rush or that valiant dash to be able to get away from harm. Now let's see if Team Flash can take more opportunities on the chaos that is ensuing between Magna Esports as well as Evo Divine, because right now they are part of the hit list. So their position in the map will also be in the view of whoever put up that hit list. So they need to be careful as well.
Yeah, and I think for MEC, they're not looking too great right now in terms of positioning as well. I feel like they're just getting caught off guard in these situations. Regardless, Flash wasn't able to find a kill there, so it doesn't really matter because GOW going a bit more aggressive. It's going to be Expand that's in their sights. As they come into the compounds, they haven't really been able to find a way up on top, but the util dump is coming online, and Expand says, sayonara, my brothers. I am not going to be risking any of that. The shots come through, but nothing connecting, and Expand is able to just get out unscathed.
Yeah, I mean, I love that they use that time turner not to be hit that much, and then giving them time to use that launch pad. But oh, here comes Aim God. Even with Kingfisher, he is going up close, and then the Zom just finish him off with that Trogon once again. So, well, the Zom and Wang M had one elimination already, but unfortunately, Wang M needs to be revived, and it is happening right now. For June, well, I think he has to wait a few more months, because June has passed already, and now he will be careful not to be exposed because they only have a handgun on him.
Yeah, poor guy. And on top of that, as well, the blue zone is coming through. So it's not looking great at all for him in terms of position as well. If he's able to pick up anything, it'll be huge. Puts in a bit of damage to Hwang Am, but Hwang Am just faster, better weapons as well. You can start to see that he's starting to get a bit more desperate here. Hwang Am, what a god, if you ask me. He's been able to capture, catch so many players off guard, just completely swarm over with his teammates, doing God's work just to be able to start off fights for his teams.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I mean, they put so much pressure as well as eliminating June. It exposes their position for Magna Esports. But the Zom says, I'm not afraid. I will be rushing in, and does have that time turner available just in case he needs it. But I am seeing a little bit of Clash Squad action in this area of the map. But will M590 make that hit into the time turner? They go, and the Zom managed to take down Alif. Magna Esports slowly losing their players. But Shin also receiving a little bit of damage. Will he be revived though, or will the Axel finish him off?
Honestly, I would love to see them really come back into the game as well. MEC looks so out of place in terms of position, so separated with one another. They weren't able to rendezvous, play off one another, and I felt like that was their biggest weakness, being able to allow Flash to kind of slice their positions up like little pies and just allow them to kind of fend for themselves in a 1v2, 1v3. And in a situation where it's a 1v1, they're not able to find openings as well to really take advantage of bad situations. Magna, you gotta do something. You can't allow teams like Flash just completely walk all over you.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see the potential coming from Magna Esports, but they were a little bit too aggressive as well earlier. Not really putting the factor of third party, and that's where they faltered. They were spread a little bit too thin, and then they lost a few of their players. But for Todak, they stuck together, still in Clock Tower, and they might be meeting up with GOW, who was here as well following them, but WAG as well as Virtus Pro will not make it easy for them to go for the engagement. So a standstill will be happening.
Oh my god, this is crazy!
You can see, I mean, they've taken rent, and I think real estate prices would be going up in the Clock Tower right now.
Listen. This is like real good prime real estate. Everyone, for the time being, are happy, good neighbors. We're in I would say a gentleman's agreement not to fight each other for the time being, because there's no space. If one team fights, you can be sure another team's gonna come out to try third party, and then another team comes out to third party, and then suddenly it's a free-for-all. Honestly, I want that to happen, please.
Let's see now if that would happen, because it might be happening, because we are already on the 7-minute mark and we still have 12 teams remaining, and how close it is between these teams might start off like ignite something once everyone starts shooting. WAG's the ones rushing out of those compounds, and I think, yeah, I mean, they went underneath, they went in the subways trying to get away from all those chaos or potential chaos that might be brewing in a bit. But as the blue closes in from second to third, I don't think anyone else will be hanging outside of the blue, and that might ignite the fight in Clock Tower.
I love that. Honestly, since RQ is close as well, you can tell that they love to go a bit more aggressive. But speaking of aggression right now, Heavy keeping fairly quiet here as over on one end. Here is Joel to fall as BTR go and just duke it out. Alan trying to find an angle to see whether or not he can dip his hand in the cookie jar.
Let's see though, I mean, speaking of dipping, well, there's Expand as well. Not only are they dealing with Evos and Heavy, but even Expand is dipping their foot in this fight, and BTR, Bigatron by Vitality would need a lot of vitality right now to survive this onslaught, because not only two teams has sight on them. Those across in Clock Tower is also shooting at them, and that might be losses for resources for BTR.
Truly. Now, nice nade to come through, and Joel once again knocked down this guy back into the game and really knocked down one again. Koja as well will follow as the rest of the team completely crumble onto them. Koja, I don't think can be saved right now as the rest of the team rush through here. The ice damage keeps the rest of the team at bay here, but Heavy does not care. What a great collapse to completely surround the entirety of BTR at all angles and just completely demolish them.
Oh, definitely. I mean, demolish would be an understatement to what Heavy has done to VTR. But I'm quite surprised, though. And all those chaos is happening, and Evo's Vine didn't start off with a third party. They might be able to take advantage of Heavy, but probably as well as the location of the window. They don't have that much visibility on what's happening. And if they happen to have a coda on them for Evo's Divine, they might have information on how they can rotate. So they were a little bit safe, but with all those gunshots starting off by Heavy, they have attracted the attention of Team Flash. So civil war might be ensuing right now between the two Vietnamese teams.
Trying to see whether or not this team will actually happen. I mean, Flash right now has collected so many kills. They've been aggressive. They've just been picking off teams one by one. They did a number onto MEC earlier, which really kept the team at bay. And now I wouldn't be surprised if this team wants to go full-on four-man fight if they want to as well. For the time being, they're just trying. I think they're being a bit wary, especially since there's a lot of teams around. You can see from the map, teams are shooting out, so their presence are definitely not hidden. Everyone's okay to show their hand in terms of positioning on this map. So it does keep the rest of the teams of Flash at bay. And in fact, for Flash, if they want to get into that circle, they have to contend with Heavy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Heavy would be the first hurdle that they have to go through, and Blue's closing in right now in 3 seconds. For Magna Esports, good thing they were able to recover, but in terms of resources, I think they've lost a lot from earlier. Launchpad is ready. The only question is, where will they be going? And no Dinoculars has been popped off right now, despite of them having that available in their arsenal, but it's a good thing that they went in on this area where there's a little bit of dip, and they might be able to hide out. Now, if someone from Heavy might have spotted them, then that might be a loss for them. And speaking of loss, we might be seeing a loss between two Indonesian teams. It's Kagendra going against RRQ, and Dutch right now backing away. And there goes the Drogon gameplay against EZ4RAF.
That was really, really fast. RRQ collapsed on that mad quick as well as the rest of Kendra in trouble. Their glue walls are breaking as well. But waiting for 18 Dierna Bay to make a bit more space and pressure. An opening pick is enough for them to just completely rush forward. And Kagendra wants to make a space away from RRQ, especially knowing since this team is a team that loves to take full CQC in your face fights as well. They're very aggressive, they're very quick. So it's a great idea to really hunker down into that armory and just allow them to rush into the choke where they're able to take full advantage of RRQ instead.
Yeah, I love the pull away that Kagendra has done. I mean, CD7 pull away because he's a sniper, and then the two players from Kagendra is just slowly lining them up onto the edge of this arsenal. And this is what they do right now. On the one side, the rush is on, and 18 Deer has felt the wrath of Kagendra. The Garudas right now is spreading their wings and taking down RRQ. Not quite sure if they'll be able to survive at this point. It's a 3v3 situation as one of the RRQ player has been gunned down, and RRQ has been left stuck inside this arsenal. Now, will they be able to move? Because in a few seconds, the blue will be moving with them, and with that might be the loss of their chance to grab that booyah.
Oh, now Abai coming forward here, trying to find a nice little opening, but Kagendra very wary. They've already built their great wall of glue walls forward, so if you want to swing, it's not going to be easy. It puts you out there in the open. Abai is finally seeing that, has to block their way in, and Dudes alone inside, all trying to put in the damage onto one member of Kagendra, but he's just faster as Easy4Dead will fall. The rush through by Maal is just massive as well, as Kagendra quickly fall eliminated and deleted out of the server. In this situation, we thought it's a 3v3, it'll be a little bit more in Kagendra's favor just because they had a bit more space in that armory, in the arsenal, but They didn't allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the timing that RRQ has done in there against Kagendra's tactics of pulling away. So it is still the mastermind in control, but they've lost one player for side of RRQ. But speaking of losing one player, Zodak might be losing not only one, but also two, but the pickup might be done with the Blues closing in, and they might not be able to survive this rush. They're still alive though, and it is heavy right now, putting so much pressure on Team Flash after Team Flash has dealt with Magna Esports. A three-way battle in this area, and a Riptide Rhythm from far away from Evo's Divine to disrupt everything.
Yeah, it's just so hard for Heavy to push forward as well. These walls are not making it easy as Evo's also pressuring them as well, and Flash just waiting for them to push through, and it's a meat grinder inside. They're aware of it. Shin falls, and right now Heavy, they do so good in terms of breaking into compounds. This is the second team that they're able to just completely overwhelm Heavy. What is going on?
Oh, I mean, the cleanup crew as well as a breakdown gang is here in the name of Heavy. Now, Magna Esports will try to enter the compound, but it is still a meat grinder here. And those who are grinding well is Heavy. Alif right now trying to survive, and the flank coming from the Axel is not working in terms of angle. Evo's Divine is trying with so much pressure, but they're not paying dividends in terms of numbers of elimination from their side. For Expand, there's a lot of trouble from outside blue, and Luki as well as Hands will be taken down. Luffy as well, and Vault will need to vault away. Otherwise, Expand might be expendable at this point.
They are in trouble right now as well. The same could be said about EVOS, because Heavy is now on a rampage. They're hot and they're aggressive as ever. Even EVOS cannot stop them from being able to completely overrun them. This team is doing insane. But you know what's surprising to me? Despite the slow start, MEC is not only alive but surviving at the edge of that circle. RQ still holding on strong here. WAG as well has 5 eliminations, and they want to take this fight head on against RQ. Guarding that bridge to perfection. The blue is chunking down at the HP, and WAG, they're the gatekeepers.
As you know, if they can gatekeep everyone else, it was shot from Cyrus, but unfortunate for them, there goes WAG being taken down by Doots. The Axel has also helped out in those eliminations. Even Evo's Divine is feeling the wrath of MEC right now, given that they only have 2 players, but the shift of the circle will be favoring RRQ, or the 2 players of RRQ. And you know who is still in the numbers? It is Heavy, who has done dirty against 3 teams earlier, so there's a few chance that they can eliminate both teams at once.
Heavy is doing incredible. I thought to myself, wow, they're so good at breaking into compounds. They're so good at being able to break defenses, but how are they indoors? CQC, they thrive as well. And now, since they're feeling so good, they're taking these spot shots coming toward MEC. And Don't Cry gets a knock onto one player, Alif, but Baal is going to steal away the kill. And the same could be said about Axel, stolen away by Alan. And now, last 2 teams, Heavy with a bad advantage here, rushing forward toward RRQ, trying to find and identify where exactly the players are holding.
Helazito, I mean, the split from RQ could have helped them, and Maal for the hit, as well as the finisher, but he might be falling down after the valiant dash coming from Don't Cry. Alan does the same, and Heavy grabs the first booyah in this game of the last chance, final week of the knockout stage.
Heavy, they came down swinging. They knew what exactly they wanted to do, identified what they wanted to play. For them, it was trying to get as many kills as possible. Yeah, the booyah gives you extra points, but hey, what's the fun in that, right? When you're able to just really farm up as many teams as you want. 2 compounds broken, picked off one team 1 by 1. This team is a monster.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we didn't see that from previous week, but now they are showing up. And I love this face of Heavy right now. I know there's a lot of potential for Heavy, but we didn't see that. It's more WAG as well as Esports, who are already qualified, but now they are doing the deed, and all they have to do right now is continue this on. stay afloat to top 6, and they would be heading into grand finals.
I love the fact that we had this conversation about what this final week means to these teams. And I feel like the one team that really stood out to me was Heavy. Coming in, guns blazing, understanding the objective. And I really think that when you play, Free Fire, you have an idea or an expectation of what you want to do when you go into that game. And for them, it was to get as many eliminations as you can. Really add on your points as you go into that last few points that you get from the Booyah as well and move forward. Right now, I believe that they have created such a big lead compared to the rest of the teams that are out here. It gives them a bit of breathing room if, say, they do make a mistake in the next few maps. But if I look at them right now, in terms of aggression, in terms of firepower, in terms of, I would say, how hot they are, I think they should be able to ride off this momentum to the next few maps.
Yeah, I love to see that, because at some point for some teams, especially for Vietnamese team, once they grab the Booyah, they falter the next game. And that is what we call the curse of the Booyah. In some cases. Hopefully that's not the case for Heavy.
Yeah.
But one thing that I love as well, because we mentioned Magna Esports were in... it's not that we gave up in giving him a chance to perform, but now they did perform. Survivability in its finest for them, stuck in between a lot of teams in that small ditch, and they still managed to survive into top 3. So this is a great performance coming from this team, and we want to see more in a bit. We're going to see the highlights and how everything unfolded, but you know how it is, Tash.
Yeah.
I'm loving this storyline right now.
Okay, why do you think it's the storyline?
I mean, the storyline that the teams that didn't perform is
Yeah.
now up on the board, and I want to see more of this.
You want to see more of this? I think for me personally, it is fun, but at the same time, right, I am also a true believer of teams that are, aggressive early could potentially not only be targets, but also do they have the stamina to keep playing like this all the way till the end? It's a very high risk, high reward style play, but the thing is, it suits Heavy, I think, when it comes to their aggression as well. For me right now, Alan is definitely the player to look out for. He's very aggressive, he's very, I would say the right word is aware in terms of his positioning, because there are so many off-angle kills that he got. And on top of that, so you saw that one point-blank shot to the face that he did to a player of RRQ. That was disgusting.
Exactly. I mean, point blank, he can do it, M590 in hand, and with a skill as well. And the A124 has been forgotten in the past, mostly being used in Clash Squad, but not in Battle Royale. And that gave them that opportunity as well in grabbing that Booyah, because disabling a lot of skills will help them take out a lot in terms of elimination. But speaking of elimination, we are seeing elimination from everyone. Though, yes,
Alan
did 8, but the rest of the teams were just like a little bit slow. But the assist, especially from Mufasa as well as Don't Cry, this is what I love. And I get happy. Hopefully the curse doesn't bother you into the next match.
For me, I like the fact that for Alan, you play a character like A124, disabling them. I think it allowed him to really do what he does best, which is just frag out. You don't have to worry about, abilities coming online. You don't have to worry about, someone just rushing to you from out of nowhere. You can just shoot and just focus on just shooting for that amount of time that A124 has the whole field online where no one can do anything to stop you. And in this situation right now, we're looking at game standings here. We're number 1, 27 points total, 7 ahead of RRQ here. Means there's a lot more breathing room that they can, they can play with compared to the rest of the other teams on there. I love the fact that look at MEC as well. We talked a lot about objectives just now as well, right? We also talked about how MEC is still trying to find the identity of this team. It's a great start for them to really come into the game and say, hey, we're not doing too hot right now on the firepower. We're not winning our team fights. What can we do? Survive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they are surviving and putting in the numbers as well with that path of surviving. Because you know how it is. Some of the teams, they just become passive. They don't put so much of effort in going for elimination, and that puts them in the middle, if not the bottom of the board, despite placing high. So that's one thing that we want to see, like Magna Esports right now, do well, the balance of both, but not too aggressive though, because we've seen that from the early part of that game in Bermuda, and Magna Esports is trying to farm for elimination, but it did fail. And towards the latter part, they only went for survivability. So, and that's where they got most of the elimination. So that gives you a contrast of what we're asking for in terms of engagement, as well as what can be offered by the team like Makna Esports on how they approach this game.
Okay, so we just had a bit of an update here where we're looking at Flash. They have a roster change coming into the second map, which is Huang M out and ABCD in. For me personally, I thought Huang M performed stellar, especially in the early game. But what do you think? With Huang M going out and ABCD coming in, does it change I would say, the trajectory or the dynamic of the team?
Yeah, I think ABCD would be a better rusher at this point, especially with what happened for Team Flash. Because Team Flash, from early parts of the week, they are too aggressive. From earlier, they were the first elimination leader, and we've seen them go compound, like places to places, and they're starting all those fights. But earlier, we've seen Wang Am being taken down first, and that threw off Team Flash. Though he managed to get a few elimination when he was revived, but it's a little bit too late. Resources already spent, and a lot of teams has closed in on them already. So this is one thing that I guess Team Flash is trying to avoid. If they have a good chance of building their front line with ABCD, then they'll be able to survive even more fights.
Love that. Thank you for breaking that for me. Now let's talk a little bit about some different teams right now. I think when we look at the scoreboard just now as well, think heavy. I think you mentioned before that you're hoping that it's not going to be a curse. Now I understand that a curse is something that we do for just giggles, right? But in your opinion, would you say that, you know, sometimes being at the very top means that some teams tend to get a bit too comfortable? Question mark.
Hopefully that's not the case. The thing is, for some teams, because they have that momentum already, they have that adrenaline rush.
Yes,
so
that helps
a
actually.
A little bit aggressive or too aggressive, and that's where they falter. So, and one thing I would ask for Heavy to do is just like repeat what they did earlier. They went like far from the rest of the teams or the other teams, and then towards the mid to the latter part of the game, that's where they put in so much of that fight. But we are looking at team stats right now: 11 elimination, as well as 8,298 damage and 8 assists. Now, for damage, we've seen RQ just dealt damage from a distance, and this is one reason why they survived that well, but they didn't put so much in terms of elimination because they weren't able to close or confirm all those knockdowns.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You did see Ma'al steal away 1 to 2 eliminations, but I think the biggest problem they had was more of like these team fights, right? I mean, we saw them go up against Kagendra. That was the only 4v4 that we saw throughout the entirety of the game. A lot of the other fights were just third party. I thought that, for me personally, I thought that RQ would more thrive in that situation. They would really take advantage of it. They would kind of like, you know, not allow any team to go for that reset first. But I feel like their position was a little bit too far away from other teams who are a little bit more closer to each other to allow themselves to be able to go in for these collapses. So RQ decided to stay at bay, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, it doesn't, for me, I think I'm so used to seeing RQ play very, very aggressive. This was not the kind of aggression that I've seen them serve over at EWC, because we usually see them going down early, going aggressive very, very fast. It's something that I would expect them to do instead of heavy. But in this situation today, maybe it's a first map situation where teams are still trying to adjust themselves, you know? It's understandable. I mean, I would like to believe that map 1 is the get to know each other icebreaker map. You warm up a bit, and then as the day goes, we start to see teams really stabilize, that would be the right word, and really see their identity shine in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that storyline. I love that approach for the team, but there are a few teams who are map dependent. And
map dependent.
Yeah, so like for RQ, we know that they are dubbed the Kings of Kalahari, but Kalahari is 4 maps, or the 4th map for today. So will they be waiting for that, or just really try to perform? But before we go there, we've seen the stats of Makna Esports. They only had 5 elimination, but they went in 3rd place. So this is one thing that we try and encourage some of the teams who are not performing, just find that final circle. And that's what Makna Esports did. They failed their rush from the early parts of that game, and then they just slither their way slowly into the deep chaos that was happening earlier in that compound. And it did work. It did work for them. And I guess if they can do that in couple or more of maps, they would be in a good place right now on the top of the leaderboard. But they also need to work on feeling their CQCs, because if they can still falter that and they made a wrong turn, then they might end up losing all those fights.
You know what's really interesting as well? I think a majority of the eliminations came to only a few teams. There were a lot of teams early, yes, but not many teams got eliminations, because many of them actually got team wiped fairly early as well. You expect a quick revive to happen and all, but because of how packed everyone is, right? You saw how Clock Tower was completely full with so many different people. It does not put teams in a position to be able to go for that revive. So I think that was a big problem that everyone was seeing earlier in that game. We didn't see as much revives as I thought we would, but on a map like Purgatory, it's a little bit more big, which is gives you a little bit more space to work with. Perhaps this is the maps that we get to see people, I know farm up more eliminations. I really want to see that happen, because there is a reason why we're able to bring our teammates back into the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. For Purgatory, there's a lot of long range. There's a lot of chance really to go in for the early engagement. But for Bermuda, I guess I do agree with the teams why they slowed down. Because this is an OG map, everyone knows the rotation, and they don't want to risk anything, similar to what we've seen in the early part. So Purgatory might be a little bit top heavy at this point. Who's taking the top? We don't know yet, because it's a brand new
I want you to
week.
Guess. Let me hear what your predictions are. You can't just say we don't know yet. Come on now.
Well, at this point, I'm looking at another Vietnamese team. So I want to see WAG really top the board at this point, and then following them is Evo, because they have topped the board in terms of all games played in Purgatory. So let's see if they will be able to go with that story, because neither heaven nor hell can save them at this point as we drop in this map.
Well, this one time around, we're going to be looking from the left to the right there, all the way to Forge in terms of flight path. It's a little bit more skewed to the northern side, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for any of these teams to be finding where they are. For me personally, since it's going to be the last day anyway, you might as well go a bit more aggressive. I want to see what Heavy did earlier, go toward another team. Maybe a hot drop would be really nice to see. I don't know, wink wink, just a caster wish.
Well, you know how it is, but this is something that we often see.
Oh, that's fast.
Well, that's good. I want to go for different teams, but as we can see, Demon right now deal with Raz, and I don't think he will be going down that easily, because for GOW, there's a few more backup that can take down Raz, but it's about too soon. That RGS grenade launcher did the deed, and Zom right now will try to do the same for MEC. Now, this same story that we've seen earlier, a little bit early with those aggression, but MEC right now is getting on position and on point. Time Turner saves the Zom, and let's see if the Axel can be saved or can be taken down as well as the rest of Team Flash is going in for aggression, but no, only Shin remains, and this might be it. MEC or Magna Esports might be seeing the end of Team Flash with 3 elimination, but who's knocking the door? It is RRQ.
I love this from MEC. They're shooting back. They're understanding how exactly the dynamic is going, learning from the mistakes on the previous map. And now RRQ is filling in that gaps, whatever gaps that's left behind. Now they want to take it away. Now that Flash is gone here, they want to see whether or not they can just really farm out the players of MEC. By MEC, they're taking a more defensive stance as the Axel all alone here behind the tree. They're double swinging him together, which means that he doesn't have a single chance to even shoot back.
Yeah, I mean, not a chance at all, especially with that rush that has been done on that 2-prong approach. Now, let's see it up for Virtus Pro. This is the battle that I was pointing out earlier, because every time you go in Purgatory, Todak and Virtus Pro has dropped into Moat House, and it's always a push and pull between these two teams. Now, no one has let go of dropping in this area, and that would be a rivalry that would continue on if both teams qualify for the grand finals. But for RQ right now, despite of what we've seen, the pressure that 2 of the players like Abe and Dut has done on one side of the map, 18 Deer right now is lurking in a different part, which is Fire Brigade, and might be seeing Heavy in a bit. Now, for Virtus Pro, I think they're still in the hunt, but speaking of Magna Esports, despite of the effort, only 3 elimination, I believe, and they're out of the game.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I was hoping that they're able to just really extend their survivability. They were able to find Flash this time around. And for Tona, very close toe-to-toe with VP here. would love to see them just really be able to just take them off guard. But I think VP super aware that there is someone close by. They don't want to really initiate anything. I love the position coming in from Toda. They have a nice little layer going on here for their positions.
Yeah, at least they have an insurance policy just in case traps will be trapped and taken down. But it's a little bit too risky for trap right now. There goes a nade being popped, but I don't think it would hit anyone from Virtus Pro at this point. And even the flank, Videls has been spotted. Noki might be a little bit too deep. And those glue walls is just prompting that Todak, or prompting the VP, the Todak is getting in. A little bit too close right now. And there goes the Aurora Vision. Just to spot out where Virtus Pro is! And Waranyas is an expose. Perfect timing to take them down. Even Nameless joined the fray, and 3 down for Todak. Only 1 remains.
No, man, that Arsenal high ground gave them so much value to the position. On top of that as well, Todak was playing on a lower ground, which is just so easy to spray down from the top side here. At the very least, Todak still has 1 more player still alive, so shouldn't be a problem to bring them back into the game 1 more time as well. Oh no, that's terrible.
I mean, hitless on Faiz right now.
The last man standing.
Yeah, the last man standing will show him on the map, and Virtus Pro might go in for a hunt. So that's what Todak needs to pray for, that Virtus Pro doesn't catch up. Otherwise,
what a shot.
Will be taken down. But speaking of taken down, T-Koi, perfect timing, perfect angle as well into the Arsenal to take down one of the players from Kagendra. But the pickup has been done, and also minigun has been set in place, so they just have to go to the other side. No problem at all.
All the util thrown into the kitchen sink as T-Queen takes a lot of damage here. Kagendra thought they're a little bit more safe on the outer side, but WAG does not allow it to happen. Short range, long range, they completely obliterate Kagendra. You thought you could get away with it, but regardless of how they were positioned, WAG knew exactly how to play them. The utility quickly breaks down all of those glue walls as well, so it's not going to be easy for them to just really reposition themselves.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was a losing battle for Kagendra, especially they pull away a little bit into the open. And it was just a timing, perfect timing for WAG. And did mention that WAG is one who is topping the board when it comes to Purgatory. A total of 74 elimination and 68 in the placement point before the start of this game. And it's even growing. But the team who is growing the numbers as well is Team Heavy, because they have survived a little bit longer. They're not part of the first 3 teams to be eliminated, so the curse a little bit is broken for Team Heavy, and they just need to maintain this up until the final circle.
I love the idea that you're not really riding on that high, the momentum of aggression from that last game. You want to really change up the way you play, and I think that, who fell into that curse was Flash, if you ask me. They were playing that same playbook from game 1. It felt like a lot of teams are starting to understand how aggressively they wanted to play early, and they have SOPs in how to deal with them with those early fights as well. And I think that their aggression, their greed, going a bit too aggressive super early as well, were quickly punished. And I love the fact that MEC was the team to do so. Very, very poetic.
Yeah, I mean, definitely poetic, but one thing's poetic for Team Flash is MEC, despite of them taking the team out, is they will be the next one. They also get eliminated.
That's so sad.
So I mean, I have some hopes for MEC, but this inconsistency is something that they need to break away from. But speaking of breaking away from, in the middle of the map, there's no breaking away, because all they doing right now is waiting for next phase of the circle. And if there's a huge shift on where the next phase would be, then we might be seeing 2 or 3 teams being taken down because of the movement that they have to do. But no movement needed for those in the middle, because they are safe. Only the ones in the edge that needs to move in.
Trying to see when exactly this fight will break out. Everyone's just being very cautious right now. I think it's because of the terrain, right? You have 0 information. You have an idea where one team is. But from, I would say, experience for that last map, when you don't know where teams are, the high ground, and also these players who can play long range, you don't want to get picked off by them. Ray was definitely one of those players that really was able to abuse off angles in the long range fights. So I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't think I want to start these fights. We want to be the more reactive team instead of proactive in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it did work for in terms of survivability for some teams, but you know how it is. Those who are proactive, like Heavy, in the latter part, but it's not too aggressive. The how they approach it, like one compound at a time, one team at a time, despite of how many. is in the same area. So let's see if that's something they can repeat. They have an opportunity, and it's a good thing that they're not going too aggressive. For Virtus Pro right now, they are leading board with 3 elimination for this map, and all they have to do right now is spot out where BTR can be taken down. Would it be a head-on approach, or can they take them out from afar? Because that, I believe the latter would be a better choice, because they're in a good spot. They are safe and not in the sight of any of the teams.
This is definitely not the tempo I expected Game 2 to be, but yeah, again, it's just too much space. You, especially for VP, when you already have this high ground, you keep a close eye out on to Vitality. If they do peek their head out, it's an instant headshot. You can see how fast some of these teams are quick to just, you know, go for these shots. And speaking of shots already, that's Ray with a long range straight toward Dian. The time turner buys them a bit of space. They were able to go for that pickup as well, but the glue walls quickly demolished as well. So you could tell that this team, EVOS, they have all the intention to go all in onto this team if they do cross the peripheral. But the follow-up not quite there yet, and understandably so. When WAG and Heavy are close, you have to really be on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're even taking, I think, the 3rd floor. So there's still a little bit of buffer for them. Ray in 2nd floor, and then everyone else is just on standby. They're giving a chance for Rasia to take those knives, but I guess they are pulling away. They do have that hit list on them, or on Rasia. So they need to move, but towards Heavy and WAG. The only question, though, is who will they be taking first, and if they can take them down. Because on a lower ground and not so much of an elevation, I don't think their snipers can do so much.
Yeah, I completely agree with you as well. They're trying to find a nice off angle to work with. Can see all the utility coming through as well. Bit of chip damage forward here, and Coach Shield just hoping that someone would just peek that window. No one did, so that's his one dream dash for the time being. But in terms of positioning, I like how they are just really hunkered down here. They're not going to go over aggress, because in the previous game as well, their over aggression left them punished. And they want to be in a more advantageous state where if, say, a team breaks into their compound, their building, they can really just work off that CQC.
Yeah, let's see though if they can work on it. I'm loving the skills coming from Coach Hill right now. The A124 that we saw earlier is being worn by Coach Hill. But in terms of weapon, I'm curious what would be the secondary, or what would be the next one on the list following that AC80, because he does have a long-range engagement when it comes to CQCs. It might be tough despite of how accurate you are. But again, another standstill in a place where there's a lot of compound, so it is mirroring what happened earlier. And let's see if X-Man can survive. Joe Will stole it from GOW right now, and X-Pan can go for the rush against GOW. Vault will be the first one going down for the M590 coming from Hans, and he will be eliminated, confirmed. Even too fast will be taken out, a little bit too fast, and Luke right now barricaded himself off to be taken out by Dian. So only one remains for X-Pan. It's a little bit too late for a revive.
Honestly, I'm quite surprised at that outcome here, because now VTR and RQ are going to be out of each other. Koja out in the open already, Alpine making a bit more space all the way to the backside here. 18 Deer fighting for his life, trying to build some space between himself and the rest of VTR here. Finally knocked out, and it's by Virtus Pro all the way on the other end, who's just third party here. 18 Deer falls, stolen away. BTR confirms it, and the rest of RQ say, okay, we tried and attempted, but in this situation, we should not keep going.
And that is a breakdown for this tactic. I mean, it's a honestly good tactic coming from RRQ. 18 Deer in the front line. We know that he has movement, he has skills to get away, but Virtus Pro jumping in, or from afar rather, who is taking down those players, would throw off the tactic of RRQ. So they pulled away, BTR is still in front of them, and they're cautious as to where Virtus Pro is. And I guess they spotted them already on a higher ground, but VP would be moving in because the blue would be closing in a few seconds. 4th to the 5th phase, no one wants to be hanging away, and smart from Todak as well as Evo's Divine. I think this is the final player from Todak right now, or full squad of Todak that has been revived earlier, already into the next phase. So they need to be careful, because similar to what we've seen from Heavy, they're putting so much of pressure onto those already in the next phase of the loop.
I agree with you there as well. Does PLS1 also gets knocked down here. Wants to try and break into that compound as well. Not going to be the easiest here. It's a 3-way, 4-way fight even. If you want to try and get into the southern side of the circle here, WAG on the outskirts, outside here as GOW just trying to find an off angle through the window as Dia falls. The rest of WAG completely collapse inside. GOW has a bit of an idea on how exactly to be dealing with them as well. Positions all around here, but Hans will be the next one to bite the dust. Alongside Police 1, Cyrus as well. TQA and Police 1, last man standing. BTR eliminated on the offside here. And WAG trying their best to pick up the pieces because another team is rushing forward and it's Heavy who are cleaning up house.
Perfect timing as Blue closes in and the chaos has died down. Heavy just rushing against WAG, and that was a 3-way Vietnamese battle that happened from this area, and Heavy is still alive and kicking. Now for Dutz right now, I don't think he will be kicking that much because Alan is already on his way to go in for the push and not even recovering for Dutz. So not quite sure what the plan is, but he might be the next one going down, and RQ would be eliminated on 5th place. Now we have 4 teams remaining. Heavy is still part of this mix, and I'm loving the adjustment from early passive to late aggressive, and they have a good chance to go for a back-to-back booyah. But let's focus on the other side. Rastia managed to take down one of the players of Virtus Pro, and Todak is also in a good chance to put pressure on VP right now, and VP is not looking quite well. The Polar Bears might be feeling a little bit chill at this point.
Yeah, VP has just been doing nothing but long-range pickoffs as well. They haven't really been fully immersed into these fights, except for now here, as the rest of EVOS put their eyes on them. They're trying to hunt for these Polar Bears. Exposing, feeling the big wrath of the shots coming from Russia, as the rest of VP rush forward here, trying to get a bit more close to take out space and go for these full-on fights. Coach Hill and Russia give the wrath off, the whole wrath and buffet of pain toward them as well. 6 eliminations in the bag, and the whole of VP cannot hold on as Russia sets his sights onto the members of Heavy.
You know what would happen if Tigers and Polar Bears would fight. It is the White Tigers who would be winning the game. Now let's see if the Tigers and the Swordfishes will be fighting at this point, because Evos and Todak next to each other, and Heavy has a good chance to go in steamroll. I thought he will be going and rushing in with that monster truck against Evo's Divine, but they don't need it. They have a little bit of firepower to break down the blue wall, forcing Evos to back away.
Yeah, and right now, Toda and Evo's just going huge, but the rest of Heavy are just pressuring both teams. They have advantage of this circle right behind them as well. So they are going to be playing the gatekeepers compared to the rest of the teams here. Ray falls, Russia as well. The entirety of the Polar Bears, excuse me, the White Tigers fall. And now they're going fishing. The rest of Toda trembling with only 3 members left. The blue threatening to take their HP away. Noki, fast forward here, all alone. No support from his teammates. The rest too far away. He tries to put in damage, but Noki dealt with swiftly. The rest of the teammates completely demolished. And it's gonna be a quick one for this team. Heavy once again with a back-to-back booyah. What a big play coming from this team, showing us the range of the pages they have in their playbooks.
And that final 4 was a battle of the jungle at that point, because I just realized that Heavy's logo is also a sloth, and I didn't realize that sloth can move that fast. No. Heavy doesn't feel heavy at all. They feel like they feel like they are in the flight at this point, because they're on a record high for a team on a back-to-back booyah, as well as decent amount of elimination. And I'm loving this turnaround. Hopefully it doesn't end for Heavy, because a good chance for them to really prove their worth.
It really is, and I really think that, whatever, we thought that was going to be a map 1 situation, whether it's going to be an introduction map or not, Heavy knew exactly what they wanted to do. I love the fact that they really adjusted their way of play depending on the map as well. The understanding that for Purgatory, it's a bigger map, a lot more terrain, means that whatever they did earlier in terms of aggression is not going to work, especially if you're at a terrain disadvantage. We saw so many teams just really get demolished because of that as well, and I think that this understanding on how to play each map, I think the we talked a little bit just now, right, about which team had the highest charts when it comes to so many different maps. You said it was going to be RRQ. But today, Heavy is showing us that they have just as good of an understanding of how exactly to play at least Bermuda as well as Purgatory.
One thing I could say about Heavy right now is they understand their weaknesses. Because looking at the numbers, and I'm in a bit, I'm going to throw out those numbers out of the window. Because looking at the numbers, Bermuda Heavy is somewhat in the bottom, and now they grab that booyah. Purgatory, they were also at the bottom, but now they grab another booyah. So Heavy is just flipping the script overall and improving their ways in this game, and I'm loving it from Team Heavy. Their lead against the teams has already grown with only 2 games. Now, I want this to continue, and that adjustment, as you did mention, that can happen map after map, because the next map would be in Solara, and I know not a lot of teams has been familiarized in this. Only a few has already taken the reign in this map, but if Heavy can do it once again in this new map of Solara, I would be wowed and dumbfounded on what Heavy can do.
Yeah, I mean, Solara is quite a different map as well, compared to the rest of the maps as well. So I think it's a very different way, very different idea on how exactly we're approaching this. And I am curious to see what exactly they have in terms of how they wanted to execute. Again, we talked about those quests, right? That idea of what you wanted to achieve on each map here. At first, it was a bit more quiet for Heavy, but in this situation, it just feels like, yeah, they're getting those kills, right? But in terms of they're really prioritizing position on this map compared to last map, where they were prioritizing eliminations.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love that because they know for a fact that they would need to be careful. We talked about it in the beginning of Purgatory, and they understood it. And that's one thing. Even like when we were talking about Yunsul, or when we talked to Yunsul, even she noticed that once a team from Vietnam has won a booyah, they lost out the following. And I guess that's one thing that Heavy has studied overall. They know their mistakes. They are correcting this. And it is this time around not only Alan who's performing, also Kabi with the MVP right now. 4 elimination, 1851 in damage. So not so much of damage though, but this has brought the team different high because they have grabbed that booyah despite of them being passive. And earlier we saw A124, now there's a homer into play. So in terms of skills, they know that disabling the opponents is really their plan of approach, and we'll have to find out though if someone can deny them of doing so into the next map. But as we look into the overall team stats, we have 4 from Kabi, we have 2 from Alan, 1 from Don't Cry as well, 3 from Mufasa. So that makes it a total of 10 elimination, if I'm not mistaken. My math is mathing correctly.
Let me do 5, 10. Okay, so I think in this situation as well, we thought that Alan would be like, once again, the guy that's going to be the heavy hitter. No, I think they've really changed up how exactly they're going to play in this game as well. I think in terms of this game in particular, I love Don't Cry. I think Don't Cry really shined here in terms of really setting up the pace for the team as well. His rush forward, the ability to just really take down those glue walls quickly, allow for the rest of his teammates to just quickly rush forward and collapse, which I liked as well. On top of that, having Homer to just really identify where the other enemies are, help them in terms of positioning. So I like that they're being very proactive with the abilities they had and how exactly they wanted to navigate through this area. Because I have to say, we saw a situation where that area where it's just so saturated with so many teams happen again on Purgatory.
Yeah, easy. I mean, exactly. I mean, it has been a pattern that is happening, but that's from the older maps like Bermuda, Purgatory. But right now, Heavy has grabbed the second booyah with a huge number of points, even against Evos and WAG, and that brings them 17 points ahead of RQ. But surprisingly though, RQ is still on the top of the board. They know that they were lacking a little bit more points, so they add up a few more. But unfortunately for them, despite of getting that second place, they ended up only getting 6 points in placement and only 6 in elimination. So all those pressure coming from the other teams, and it was Dutz who was hanging in there a little bit longer, and hopefully whatever rut RRQ is right now, thus they're not performing, they can get away from it real quick, because not only do they have 2 more days, but the number of matches is slowly counting down. It
really is, and I think on top of that as well, at the very least, I can give it to RQ that despite the fact that they're not playing as well as we expected them to, they are still bringing in those points every single round. For me personally, it's better than having like big points one game and then going 0-0-0 the next. I've seen so many of these situations, right? So, for me, consistency is key, and that allows them to be in second place without really worrying too much. So long as you have enough points to it's still going to just really bring you forward, rather than going into a situation where you get like one huge maybe booyah in one game and another like 0 in the other as well. And I like the consistency coming in from them. But the thing is, when you look at Heavy right now, they look like they can do no wrong. In terms of their eliminations, high up there as well. The only thing that's different between Purgatory as well as Bermuda is how early they decided to fight. I understand certain teams, they have like a certain, phase that they want to go for when it comes to eliminations, right? And I think that for Heavy, understanding how Purgatory was, like, okay, we cannot take early fights here. When would be the ideal time for us to really collapse? And it was going to be toward the last few circles, which is totally valid. And on top of that as well, I think that positioning was also another factor in this as well. That circle favored them. It allowed them to pressure the other two teams that are in the top 3. It felt like, this not only is it a great day for them in terms of positioning, it's a great day for them in terms of the circle, the circle area as well.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't say it's luck, it's RNG, but they did create their own luck. They hanging there a little bit longer. They then identified how they want to go for rotation. Thus, they met up with Dudes who was straggling in there, and they have a little bit of dip while the other teams are on an elevation. So hiding out, or they will not be spotted that easily as they close in to the rest of the teams. And I love that they didn't rush in onto the 2 teams, or 3 teams rather, which was Virtus Pro, Todak, and Evo Zivine. They just waited for the perfect timing. Yes, they didn't get that much of elimination, but at least they grabbed the booyah. So in those decisions that we seldom see being done well by some teams are being done by Heavy. So I want to ask them, hopefully they will be interviewed later on, because I'm pretty sure with that double booyah, there's a huge chance that they will be in a spotlight, and I want to hear what they've done to make it this far, make this kind of performance for today.
You look at Alan, right? We talked a little bit about how much damage he did on that first map and how many eliminations he had on that first map. You look at him now, 2 maps in total. Not only is this guy putting in the elimination numbers, he's also putting in the assists, he's also putting in the damage. This guy is an all-rounder. He can do, it's like, he's like a single mom working 2 jobs trying to keep his team alive and get in those eliminations.
If Alan would have a changed name, he could change it to All In.
All In? You know what? I like that. I like that.
Like all in one package. That's what Alan has to offer in this game. I mean, I want to see more coming from this team, Heavy, but for the other teams as well. It's like we've seen what Magna Esports can do in the first map, but I guess they're the ones who were carrying that curse overall, because they were 3rd place, they put a decent amount of elimination, but on the next map in Purgatory, that's where they lost. So I'm quite sure it's because they were a little bit too aggressive in getting all those elimination, or the positioning was off, because it seems like they don't have an exit strategy in some of their rushes, and that's what we've seen some of the teams has done quite pristine, because despite of being a strong team, as long as you have a plan B or a plan C or whatever, then you can still survive towards the end, and that's where they missed out on Purgatory.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to certain teams, especially MEC, I feel like in terms of team fights, they're not really that clean, if you ask me. If you look at teams such as Heavy, like RRQ, EVOS, in terms of positioning and how they play off each other in terms of layers, it's just very much there. How they execute with their utilities, with their abilities, is also very much there. And I would really like to see this team be a little bit more clean, with those comms, right? Like, hey, I'm going in here, I'm gonna rush forward and break down these blue walls. What's the next step? They're not really thinking of that next step. You have to always be 3 steps ahead when it comes to these executions. And if you're not ready for these executions from teams that are a little bit more, I would say, experienced, right? You are going to crumble.
Yeah, let's see though. Let's see if there's something that they can correct overall, because we're going to a next map. It is Solara, and I'm quite surprised on how quick this is. I know there's a little bit slowdown, a little bit stalemate that is happening earlier, but everything seems to run quickly. But before we go into the map, let's look into the player head-to-head. It is RQ Dutz going against Heavy Kabi, the MVP of the previous round. In terms of elimination, Dutz has put in a few more, but in terms of rescue as well as damage, I think the damage is something that we need to focus on. It's quite equal for every players of Heavy. Thus, when we compare him to Guts, who has done so much on RQ, it seems quite low. So a little bit of comparison on how strong RQ is, but how well planned Heavy is doing in their maps, because they are grabbing the booyahs as well, despite of not putting in so much of numbers.
Yeah, I love to see it coming into that as well. I think for Dutz, I think the biggest mistake that RQ has here, you have your first contact player rush up, meeting with the team. But in a lot of situations as well, against Heavy, I felt like they weren't able to collapse and follow up in that initial start. And I think that Heavy has just done a great job of identifying how the executions were going to happen, isolating Dutz from the rest of his teammates. Then with one player already knocked down here, the rest of RQ have no choice but to back up, which I like to see as well. It's a very 4D chess moment, I know. I love to see, I love to nerd out about it. That's why I love when you have those aerial cams really come up, get to see how the movements are going. It's kind of like, whoa, that guy is so damn smart. How exactly they figure out how exactly the positions are, right? Regardless, as we go into the next map here, Solara, we are coming from you. I am excited for this particular one because a lot of teams are still trying to understand how to navigate, how to rotate, how to take fights on this one. But as much as I like to say we like to see it, the team that learns this map first will be the one to take the advantage.
Yeah, let's see who's taking advantage at this point. As we look at the flight path, it's a little bit fair, a little bit down on the south side, but it doesn't affect the flight path as well as the drop spot of the teams. Now, not so much of a hot drop. What be happening for the first teams that will be dropping in, and one thing that we mostly see is Delta Air as well as the ones in the middle. But I don't think there will be a problem overall for some of the teams. Even Magna Esports, I believe, is on TV Tower, but they're a little bit too close. So being in the center and you're not winning those CQCs in early engagement might be troublesome for them. But for Virtus Pro, they did survive a little bit longer earlier. Hopefully they can put in some numbers this time around.
I am curious, you have a bit of a break before you go into the game where you have access to your coaches, you can talk a little bit with your teammates, right? But it is not a lot of time. So my question, I'm not too sure, pretty sure that you are a little bit more familiar with the players as well. How fast do the conversations happen between the players as well as the coaches? And what do you think that, how fast can the idea of adjustments come through here in between maps?
Yeah, I mean, I have experience as a coach, and it doesn't require that much because there's a lot of conversation happening even before the start of the day. And I guess one thing that the coach really needs to work on and look into, especially for those teams that are not performing, is to check the mentality and the morale of the team. And that's one part the team, like, what is crucial for the coaches right now. For the winning teams, it's still a matter of putting them in a balanced state. And we were talking about that for Team Heavy earlier when they grabbed the booyah. And if they were not in balanced state, they might be rushing blindly into early engagement. That might cost them that second map. But I guess for what the coach has done for them, just a little bit of catch up, and then just reminding them that, all right, this is a survival battle in Battle Royale, so let's work on that first.
I love that. Anyways, position-wise, looking at here, Funfair will be inhabited by GOW. Like that, MEC hot on their heels. But I don't think that MEC was actually going for anything serious right now. We saw a bit of movement, but again, MEC has been prioritizing a lot on survivability, at least from what we saw from map 1. A bit more aggressive on game 2. But at the end of the day, I think it just solidifies our idea that in terms of firepower and gunfights, they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I know some of the players of the teams has shown up from the past, but it's more of the chemistry that, like the timing and chemistry of the team to put those plans to work. So Magna Esports or MEC will need to work on that. For Virtus Pro, at this point, they still have less than 3 minutes to mark and spot Evo's Divine Aim God. I know they are a little bit close, but I don't think they will be risking in heading there. So that's one thing about putting in a hit list, because it not only you get the information of one team from the other side of the map, but it also exposes your position. But speaking of exposes, Todak right now exposes their strength against RRQ. And we were talking about RRQ earlier. Yes, they didn't win so much of a fight, but they survived a little bit longer. But Todak seems to be in a better momentum because they were third earlier, and well, they still are in a good spot to make it work.
I like the fact that they got that first pick off early as well. On top of that is Dutz, right? In this situation as well. Took a bit of firepower away from RRQ for that time being. So this is massive. This could be the start for them to be a little bit more aggressive, mount up a bit more confidence for the team. And, a lot of teams, I think teams like Toda kind of need that in the early parts of the game. Now, for Heavy here, they could go aggressive if they want to. They have a bit more of a terrain advantage here. They kept an eye out on that team in front of them for quite some time. But I don't think they want to start anything quite yet. Again, it's still very, very early. We're about only, four right now minutes into the game as well. So a lot of teams are saying, yay, hey, how early do we want to take these fights, and how confident are we to be able to get a team wipe?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's one thing that we need to work on as well, because from what we've seen earlier, there's a lot of a standstill that is happening because of all those questions that is being thrown in their mind. And it also reduces their chances of getting a lot of elimination in the early parts and even surviving even longer, because since you're avoiding those engagement, it gives an opportunity for the team to go for a third party later on. And that's what Virtus Pro need to work on. If they can go hard against some of the teams like Expand were earlier, then they could have taken them down. Though they don't know it is Expand, but at least Virtus Pro, we know that they have a firepower in the CQCs and they can put it into work, but I don't think they're risking it at this point.
Yeah, I don't think a lot. I feel like a lot of teams are being very, I wouldn't say passive, that's not the right word. I think they're being very cautious here, especially as it is the last few days that they do have, to play with as well. There's that idea that, okay, this is a situation where if we lose, we're out. If we go to, but I also think that being too cautious, I think the high risk, high reward play, what's the word there? Fortune favors the bold? That was the right one. Fortune favors the bold. And I think Heavy is being very bold right now. And they're being rewarded so heavily for it, because a lot of teams this early are not expecting teams to be this bold, this aggressive, and Heavy knows when exactly to be taking advantage of this. I would say this hesitation coming through here, as Rasha, we know that he's really good with that sniper, gets a knock early as well, and on top of that, one member barely surviving by the skin of his teeth. That's an insane amount of damage he's done already.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, AWM already hands of Rasia, and he will be going in for Rigi position, but Aim God missed that beat, or Rasia missed that beat though, because Aim God could have gone in for the rush, but I guess they spotted that launch pad as well, and they are prioritizing on going in for the flank, and it is a takedown right now that Evo's Divine needs to work on as we go into the Heavy going against WAG. So another civil war, or is it the full squad of WAG or just Export? Because it seems like he is alone, but still managed to go and take that shot without VSK. And the rest of WAG right now on the other side, Allen still needs to be picked up, but Kabi will be taken down. Heavy might be feeling heavy at this point, because Don't Cry will not be walking away that quickly, and only one player remains for Heavy.
Oh, this is so bad right now for Heavy after that, after being on their laurels for quite some time. Allen is still back in the game, Kabi as well. But they're surrounded and they're trying to chase him around like sharks in blood-infested waters. And they need to open it up. But Export trades out Allen and quickly finds the other two. And now the rest of Heavy in trouble, knocked down already in this situation, but at the very least, one more member still very much alive, and they're trying to hunt him down, but I don't think they're going to be presented the opportunity to do so.
Definitely not that opportunity. But I love what Heavy is doing right now, because whoever it is, the final player managed to pull away in the perfect timing. Yes, the pickup has been done on rooftop, but with 4 players already on them, it would be difficult to get away. And WAG did receive a knockdown against their team, but again, there's not so much of contention that's happening on the outside. So WAG 3 elimination still on the board. Blue closing in. They are inside that second phase of the zone. Now let's see though on how they're going to work it up. As Virtus Pro is working it up right now onto Windmill and might be meeting with Team Flush, who has been earlier a little bit too aggressive, now too passive, and Shin might be caught off guard being spotted by Diamond.
Oh, this is not looking good right now, as well as Virtus Pro decides to find a different way into the circle as well. The lack of information is making it really hard. There we go, Heavy back into the game as well. So teams are probably going to be like, okay, I have to go through this again, round 2. Regardless, as we go through this as well, I'm pretty sure that VP is trying to find a way not only to take a nice angle against Flash as well, they can get a nice wipe onto them. It should just really, I would say, propel them forward in terms of getting those eliminations. Spots on the head of ABCD, takes him a bit of chip damage as well as Diamond tries to, I think he's going to try and crash into the compound itself. And ABCD wants nothing to do with this. Repositions away, takes a bit of chip damage from Diamond from the back end, and he's just going to rendezvous with his teammate to play a bit more closer with the rest.
Great timing being done by Team Flash. I mean, ABCD in there could have been caught already, and because with that Aurora vision, I mean, he is on the crosshairs of Virtus Pro, but he pulls away in the perfect timing, regroups with the rest of the team, and now in a good position just to wait for next phase of the circle. Virtus Pro now also waiting because there's only a few seconds remaining before that next phase shows up. And who might be meeting them once they go in for a rotation? It is RRQ, who have taken shots on them. Thus, Virtus Pro is being cautious right now. But for Todak, they are outside of blue. They will be going into Windmill as well, together with the zone, and this might start another fight. But the shift is happening, so RQ might be moving or just staying in there for the gatekeep. But they need to gatekeep not only 2 but also 3 players together with Todak.
Not gonna be the easiest at all. I think there's a lot of a standstill. Nope, Dog spoke too soon as Luffy gets 1 knock already by elimination by skill. As Coachil trades, the rest of the teams as well try and rally forward as the rest of X-Pen are just falling like flies. Too fast, all alone in the corner by Evos. Does quick work off him. So X-Pen gonna get knocked out quickly at 12. But they're not out of the woods quite yet because Kagendra wants to try and knock them down, not allow them to be able to go for that reset. As Ray barely alive in this corner, as Coachil will be stolen away. Kagendra still not done. Pressure is mounting.
Heck, Kagendra, GOW, the pressure on the EVOs is definitely mounting, and they need to recover quickly because a lot of teams would be joining this battle in a bit, and I guess GOW will need to have their heads a little bit low because Kagendra is slowly rushing in, and then the perfect timing. If GOW can time this quite well, they can take over and probably take most, or capitalize on most elimination in this game. But speaking of elimination, Virtus Pro still looking for eliminating or to eliminate Team Flash right now, because not only is Virtus Pro putting pressure on Team Flash, Zodak is also in the mix, but Traps was trapped and shut down with an M82B coming from Exposé, and Zodak is left with only 3 players. Now Virtus Pro though, not backing away. They still have a good chance of pulling away using that slide rail, but that would be in a bit. And more pressure for Zodak because there's not so much of leeway being given for them.
Honestly, it's disgusting what Exposé is doing right now. The pressure with the long-range weapons, and at the same time also manhandling Flash on the lower side of the terrain. They're understanding that the blue is pressuring both of these teams, and being able to hold their ground really put them at bay and just work in tandem with the damage coming from the blue makes it so much more painful for these teams to go for these fights. And by the time they want to go all in, they can because they're barely alive right now. Diamond stolen away from Toda as well. VP tries to find a nice angle to spray them from above, but in this situation, Flash is not allowing them from happening. So instead of trying to go for anything, they try to rotate over onto the other end, make a bit of space between them and VP, and the only player you have to worry about right now is Toda. But Exposé gets stolen away by Vidal somehow, and Exposé at the very least trades. But they're not that out of the woods yet because at the same time, it's a 3-way as another member from their own team is getting stolen as well.
Oh, let's see the Inverters Pro, the one team that has advantage from the early parts of this windmill battle is now being taken down. It's a good thing they managed to make the numbers for Todak a little bit smaller because they might be lost once they get into Team Flash once again. But WAG and BTR, it seems like BTR is in a losing game. Only Koja remains unable to go for the pickup on to Kyong and Koja with a mini Uzi trying to go in for the flank, and Explorer on the other side will try to join the battle as Magna Esports will also fight in this area. But that pushes WAG onto the other side. Giving that distance though would be crucial for WAG to take down Magna Esports because they are near the next phase of the circle.
I completely agree with you as well. RQ as well jumping into the zone, and this time around they drop straight into the area where both Flash and GOW are. They're gonna take this brick by brick here, finding that first team first. GOW Demon will be the one to start things off, but he's moving away here. Abai takes a bit of damage, but not enough to really end him as well. But they're gonna jump down here straight into the arms of Flash, but Maal somehow managing to put a bit more space within the rest of the team. It's a bigger game of ring around the rosy right now as Flash dodging everything. Abai gets knocked down because at the same time Evos is also pressuring with nades on the other end here. The high ground in their favor as well. The guardrails being completely obliterated and taken over by Evos as GOW gonna just hide themselves away into the compound, pushing Evos on the outer end for a three-way fight as WAG this time around against MEC. Jump shots abound, gets the knock, and MEC will be completely obliterated.
I mean, the distance that was created by WAG really proved them worthy of getting on that fight and surviving, because they call that Magna Esports, if they kept that distance, then they will not be able to capitalize on their position. But for Evos right now, despite of all the engagement, they weren't able to get a lot of numbers, and they even lost Rasya in a bit, bringing him on a revive. And Indonesia are losing a lot of the players. Even Aim God would need a lot more to survive the onslaught being brought in by Team Flash and GOW. But the same is happening in the compound. Vietnamese teams going against their brothers, and Team Flash with only a few HP rather for Shin, and still they lost out on that fight. GOW, the God of Wolf, proving that they deserve that name, but walking amongst God will try to walk amongst them as well.
WAG, they're having the best time right now. They've been pressuring the four teams, fighting in two different compounds on the other side of the circle, just putting in long-range fights, stealing away eliminations as well. Just so much pressure they're facing right now. And as soon as they brought back into the game, they're gonna get shot like flies by WAG. WAG is doing so much work, so aware of so many positions. Raz barely even got to touch the ground. Now he's knocked down already. Poor guy!
I mean, that is the risk of being revived where there's only a few teams remaining. 4 teams remaining for Gagendra, and they could have just survived in there if they backed away from that engagement. But, well, it's tough to call. Only a small circle to work with, and WAG keeping them distance from the rest of the teams is their advantage, and they are still favoring that shift up the circle. As GOW, despite of being pressured, they still survive that fight. It's now a 3v3. I don't think the shift would work anymore. They are going to deal with this as one has gone down. RIP would be RIP, and Dion eliminated. Another team from Vietnam has grabbed this booyah, and it is WAG.
WAG showed us what Heavy showed us in that first map. Aggression through and through. They are not afraid to take up space and also make their presence known. They really challenge teams. They break into compounds, and they're so adept at taking away space in so many situations. They have advantage. They took advantage of these long-range fights, right? They were able to just really stay out of the circle, take advantage of those trying to fight their way into the area as well. On top of that, they abuse so many teams that are being pressured by the zone as well. Good stuff coming from this team as well. And I think in terms of positioning, they were a team hanging on to the bottom side of the circle. Being able to just, I was saying, gatekeep the rest of the teams out of circle. Third party, both teams at the same time. Incredible.
Yeah, definitely incredible. I mean, WAG is one of the contenders in Solara, but after failing to be on the top of the board. Two maps I didn't point it out earlier because a lot of teams are flipping the script at this point, but not yet now. Across three maps or three matches taken by that flag. First, it was 2 from Heavy. Now it's WAG. Not quite sure what's happening with the region, but at least they're making sure. They're trying to make sure that they are part of the top 6 by the end of the day to be able to get into the grand finals. There are only a few teams that is lacking. Team Flash, I know we've seen the aggression. They've been the elimination leader in some of the matches, or beginning of some of the matches, but they falter and surviving a little bit longer. So I think if there will be another team that would be doing well, would be GOW or Team Flash.
Yeah, I like that as well, Kami, that you mentioned it, you know. Again, I think that a lot of these situations today, this is so weird, right? But the Indonesian teams have been meeting each other a lot earlier than I anticipated. EVOS tend to run into RRQ and Kagendra a lot as well. So, you know when these teams, especially Indonesian teams, meet, they love a very, very aggressive approach to each other. At the very least, when you look at RRQ, they kind of understand when to hit the brakes. But for the rest, like teams like EVOS, like teams like Kagendra, when they want to go all in, they really go all in. But it puts them in a position where, like, hey, we're a little bit in too deep here. Where exactly is our guy going for that revive, and how exactly are going to be, backpedaling for this situation, because we're just a little bit too, aggressive right now compared to the rest of the teams. Heavy this time around, I think that it's great that we're starting to see, a slow in pace as well as teams identify how exactly to be dealing with them. But then again, they might not be adept on this map. We talked a little bit more about who can be the kings of Solara, who is going to be the fastest and understanding these things. I think that for EVOS, they have a great understanding on how to move around that map. But when it comes to those fights, it felt like, it was a bit too aggressive. They wanted to third party, it didn't work out. They go all in with those guardrails and then finding themselves hit toe-to-toe with another team on the other side. And they're like, okay, we were not signing up for this. We were signing up for that fight on that other house. How did this happen?
I remember that moment. I mean, EVOS jump in, slide rails, and then, all right, there's a lot of teams in here. Let's move away.
But once they moved away, it was too late. There was too many teams looking at them already.
Exactly, and there's not so much of cover as well. So the slide rails, and there's one thing, guys, for those of you who are playing Solara, once your opponent steps in or you step in the slide rails, it lights up, giving a prompt that there will be someone coming in or away using the slide rails. And that's one thing that they need to be cautious of. So use the slide rails or there's little chance that anyone would be focusing on you or waiting for you and targeting. And I guess that's one thing that Evo's Divine didn't anticipate, because once that slide rails light up, then that's where they falter for the push, because everyone else from the rest has just went into the compound, not losing any of their teammates in this game. So, well, as we look at the highlights right now, I think the interview is also happening in a bit, and I would love whoever will be interviewing Heavy, that will be Yunsul, to ask what happened, what they did, and they performing this way.
Yeah, I would like to see like what exactly kind of broke down there as well. I mean, you got the first two maps. I think I was kind of expecting like, okay, you might not get the Booyah again, but in this situation, I think be consistently up there is going to be a problem as well, right? But anyway, before we get into the interview, once again, we're going to be looking at the MVP. This time around, we're going to be looking at TQA, and I completely agree, because this guy is so good at setting up that window of opportunity for his teammates. The rush forward timing is great, and on top of that as well, even if he is alone, his teammates are a little bit too far away, he's able to get 1 or 2 knockdowns before his teammates arrive. He has been great at not only opening that window, but also taking away that burden away from his teammates to be able to go for a 4v4. By the time they arrive, it's a 2v4.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Tikui is a great rusher, and with that, Oscar as well, you did mention opening up the window of opportunity for WAG is the best use, or the best active skill to use in there. And I guess it's also the trust onto Export, because back then, I think it was PLS1 who is a sniper, and they are failing those fights. But once Export has a snipe as well, it seems like the front line for WAG is much stronger. As you can see, you have Tikui and then PLS1 who is putting in so much of a front line power. And now we have Explorer as well on the backline, and Sniper, who is putting so much fight as well, and the Zyrus as a support. I guess there's a reason why he doesn't have that much elimination, because he is just pumping all those HP onto Oscar, onto T Kui or PLS1 once they go into the rush.
You know what? I love being able to see this as well, despite the fact that, you know, TQA is the one with the highest amount of eliminations. The rest of his team as well is putting in the numbers. So I have to say that everyone is definitely pulling their weight on this team. 23 eliminations. Yeah, I mathed it just now. And at first I was like, there's no way, right? And I mathed it again. And I was like, there's no way, right? This is the highest amount of points we've seen today. 35 in total, which should really push them all the way to the top. And I would like to think that this might just put them toe-to-toe with Heavy that had 2 booyahs in a row.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, and Heavy didn't put up so much of points from previous round, they might be able to take over number 1 spot. I mean, WAG, it's not just this map that they performed. They did put in numbers from the earlier match, and as we look at today's standings, voila! We have WAG on top,
Oh my
Heavy
God.
on second, and it's not so much of a lead by WAG, but hopefully this breakdown from the tactics of Heavy, or the momentum from Heavy, doesn't continue on to last game, because we've seen this not just for today, but the other games as well, or the other days as well, wherein after they met a loss, then it just snowballed away from them. But they put in numbers already, and I don't think it would affect them if they make that adjustment. But GOW, this is something that we've seen, or haven't seen that much, them performing, and I love that 3 teams from Vietnam is already on the board. But let's not take away from RRQ as well as EVOs, who are on 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I think RRQ and EVOs, I think especially when we say, oh, they're not performing as well, because this game is just definitely more than just those booyahs. I wouldn't say that booyahs are the extras, but at the same time, you have to remember that getting those points as well is enough. But for now, let's have a chat with Yunsul right now to see what exactly is making these teams tick.
Hello everyone, it's Yonsul and welcome to our interview after the match, and this is Vietnamese broadcast, and we are very happy that you guys can see Heavy, which is a Vietnamese team, we opened our match with 2 booyah and very proud of it. Xin chào các bạn khán giả, mình là MC Yonsul và ngay bên cạnh mình đây chính là video đến từ Heavy, và bây giờ thì chúng ta hãy cùng phỏng vấn anh ấy trong một chốc lát nhé. Alright, so into our first question, it's very impressive that you guys opened the match with 2 booyahs. Since last week you guys are not playing that good, but today, wow, such amazing. So can I ask that, what is your routine of a day today to open such a wonderful match like that? Xin chào Vido, thì so với tuần trước thì Heavy chúng ta thi đấu cũng khá là lệch nhịp một chút xíu, nhưng mà thật sự thì tuần này quá là kinh khủng, 2 booyah liên tiếp. Thì không biết là Vido có thể chia sẻ rằng là trước khi chúng ta bắt đầu trận đấu ngày hôm nay thì Vido cùng với anh em ở nhà Heavy đã làm gì cùng với nhau để có thể có một cái khởi đầu thật là suôn sẻ như thế không ạ?
Heavy đã có một tuần thi đấu vừa rồi, tuần thứ 5 không được tốt. Sang tuần này thì anh em đã cố gắng try hard ở những ngày thứ 5, thứ 6 và đã cùng với sếp, những người đồng hành trong tổ chức để tìm ra những vấn đề mà team gặp phải và giải quyết.
Là thứ 5, thứ 6 mình try hard đúng không? Và hôm nay là thứ 7. Vậy thì sáng hôm nay là mọi người đã khởi đầu một ngày của mình như thế nào? Ăn sáng cùng nhau, có làm gì vui vẻ với nhau không? Chill thoải mái.
Chill. Trong giấc mơ.
Trong giấc mơ. Là ngủ đó hả?
Yes sir.
Là ngủ tới mấy giờ đây?
12 giờ.
12 giờ rồi sau đó là mình dậy, mình sửa soạn rồi mình đi thi đấu luôn. Wow. So okay, so for Heavy, they start their match with trying very hard in the game, practicing on Thursday and Friday, but for today, they decided to stop try hard and they rest. So they sleep until 12 p.m. and then they wake up, get dressed and get ready to our studio so they can open a very good match. Chilling is a very nice way, right? So our second question, for one specific person I can see in Heavy, which is Mufasa. In the previous matches, I can see that you guys always replace him in and out. But these days, Mufasa is such a shining one. So how do you guys improve them together? Bởi vì Yusu thấy được rằng là ở trong những trận đấu ở trong trước đó thì Mufasa là một thành viên bị thay ra thay vào khá là nhiều, nhưng mà có vẻ như là lần này Mufasa đã quay trở lại rất là ngoạn mục, thi đấu rất là tỏa sáng, kèm theo sự đồng hành của Kabi nữa. Thì không biết là lý do tại sao mọi người thường hay thay Mufasa ra và làm sao mà có thể khắc phục được Mufasa để mài dũa bạn ấy sáng hơn vậy ạ?
Trước đó Mufasa là một người chơi mới và thể hiện được kỹ năng rất là tốt trong đầu mùa trước. Thì nhưng mà sau đó đến giai đoạn sau và cả đầu mùa giải này thì Mufasa đã gần như là đánh mất chính mình.
Đánh mất chính mình.
Nhưng mà cả tổ chức đã cùng nhau có những buổi họp vào buổi tối để tìm ra vấn đề của cả team luôn, chứ không phải một mình của Mufasa. Vấn đề ở đâu thì bọn mình sẽ tìm cách giải quyết cùng nhau, và trong đó có cả sếp nữa.
Có vẻ như là chúng ta thấy được rằng cả sếp, một người rất là lớn ở trong Heavy, rất là quan tâm đến đội tuyển của mình. Và có lẽ đó là lý do tại sao chúng ta có thấy được một đội tuyển Heavy hoàn toàn mới ở trong tuần thi đấu cuối cùng này, rất là quan trọng. So for Heavy, for Mufasa, he said that so everyone in the team, not only Bido as the manager but also the coach of the team, his 5 members and also his boss, sitting around and talk together about the mistakes of the team, the problems, what they have been through, what is happening, so they can fix it together. And for Mufasa, he is having not a good state of mentality, so that's why they try to improve it together. It's kind of slow, but they still can make it, so that's why you can see a brand new Heavy in its final week of the knockout stage, a very important week, so they can get the tickets to the finals. I love all of my teams are trying so hard so they can become more professional and more good day by day. Cảm ơn Bido rất là nhiều, và tôi thực sự rất là vui khi mà thấy tất cả mọi người đều đang rất là cố gắng và thi đấu thật sự là mãn nhãn để có thể là cho các bạn khán giả những cái trận đấu nó rất là đã mắt. Cảm ơn Bido rất là nhiều về màn phỏng vấn này, và hy vọng là chúng ta sẽ được thấy Heavy và tất nhiên là cả ba đại diện Việt Nam còn lại có thật nhiều vui vẻ trong ngày hôm nay nhé. Thank you so much for the interview everyone, and now let's rest before we jump into our next game. Thank you for watching.
Halo, nickname gua Koja, tim gua Purgatory Esports, role gua Bomber. Buriram 3. Ya, karena dia masih belum lolos grand final lah, tapi dia masih tetap konsisten. Virtus Pro itu 5. Masih belum kelihatan konsistennya dia. Falcon 10. Karena dia musuh gua, terus gua kesel banget sama dia. Walaupun dia lolos grand final, gua kasih 10 dia. Personal banget gua sama dia. Tim Flash 9. Ya karena dia belum kelihatan banget lah. Esports itu 8. Nggak ada drop zone, terus dia ngacauin drop zone orang. GW 7. Belum kelihatan banget juga sih, kayak masih diambang-ambang gitu dia.
Belum konsisten ya?
Belum konsisten banget ya. Todak 6. Nggak ada kata-kata sih.
Expand?
Tinggal 4, 3, 1 kan. Ya 4 lah, walaupun nggak ada 11, 4 aja dia.
Oke. Kak Gendra aja?
Kak Gendra the one and only. 1.
Terbang tinggi kan?
Terbang tinggi dia. Ya habis menangin lawan RRQ kemarin, jadi gua kasih 1 lah dia.
Kalau RRQ?
RRQ tinggal sisa 2. Ya 2 lah RRQ. Walaupun tadi harusnya 1 RRQ, ya udahlah kasih 2 aja. Tinggal sisa 2.
EVOS dia?
EVOS udah nggak ada lagi nomornya, gua kasih 0 dia.
Kenapa 0?
Ya karena dia habis juara dunia kemarin, jadi dia masih bisa dibilang konsisten lah. Walaupun nggak lolos ke grand final ini dia, belum loh ya dia.
Oke.
Itu aja.
Halo, perkenalkan, nama gua Kocel dari tim Esports Define. Kalau tekanan sih nggak ada sih bang. Kita harus mainnya lebih rileks lagi, lebih konsisten lagi, lebih disiplin, main yang rapi, itu aja. Kalau persiapan utama sih kita ngikutin dari arahan coach sih, kayak latihan, evaluasi bareng, terus makan bareng, sama begadang bareng buat bangun chemistry. Kalau pelajaran penting sih kita paling harus eval lagi, mainnya disiplin lagi, riset lagi. Mungkin kita akan beda sama final nanti.
Teams qualify. Week 6, last chance qualifier. 2-day matches on September 20th to 21st. 11 remaining teams and the 18th ranked team face off. Only 6 will survive. That gives us 12 teams for the ultimate showdown. Grand final, October 5th. Welcome to Champion Rush mode. The rules? Get to 80 points first. Then, secure a booyah to take the crown. If no team gets a booyah after entering Champion Rush, the highest total points wins. The point system is simple. First place, 12 points. Second, 9. Third, 8. All the way down to 0 points for 11th and 12. The battlefield is set. 12 teams, one final challenge. This is Champion Rush mode. One strike can shift the game. One win can spark the rise. This is Free Fire World Series Battle Royale mode.
Garena.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show in this Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia 2025 Fall Battle Royale. We are halfway through the day right now, 3 matches over and 3 matches being taken by Vietnam. And I'm looking forward to some of the teams, if not the previous Booyah takers, to take a few more until the end of the day. Back in the caster's desk, I am Neptune Gentleman Garcia, joined by the one and only and energetic Tash Buddy.
It's exciting stuff. Thank you so much, by the way, for that. Because when you look at this game, it's the rise of Vietnam right now. And honestly, someone needs to stop this streak because this is getting ridiculous. This is a lot of dominance coming forward. 2 coming in back-to-back from Heavy, with another one coming in from WAG. And in very similar fashion. What I can say, the similarities between these 2 teams, that they know positioning, they know timing, and they know how exactly to weaponize their firepower. And it's looking good. In the break just now, we saw a bit of an interview as well with Yunsul, with the players of Heavy, and they talked a little bit about what made them tick. I was quite surprised to hear that Mufasa has having a little bit of confidence issues coming into the game, because honestly, I did not expect that, because he was playing phenomenally today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a little bit of a downside to being in the spotlight, and Mufasa is one of the players who's always in the front line, always in the spotlight, and I guess that's one reason as well why his confidence is being damaged if they falter, if the whole team falters. So I guess one good thing that Team Heavy has done is to really motivate them. And I love the fact as well through the interview that they did mention that it's not just all work for them. Before this day, they chilled, they relaxed, and kept themselves ready so that they can rock this day. And they did rock it. The first 2 maps was phenomenal. It's just unfortunate that they failed at 3rd, but I guess it's not enough but it's good enough for them to put in numbers and just continue on, forget about all those mistakes.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I did notice, I think from player interviews, for conversations with players as well, is the fact that for many of these teams, I think there's that situation where some teams, when they falter a bit more, there's that self-blame, right? And it's the situation where they just think over and over again about their mistake. But one thing I learned about these players is that when you have a good mental coach, when you have a good mindset, which is to understand like one mistake does not define your whole career, you can look back and think, okay, I made that mistake, learn from it and move forward. Instead of saying that one mistake, it kind of define that maybe 4 years that I've been, competing in the many years you've been in Free Fire, right? So I think many of these teams as well, when you are able to move forward and just have that go next mindset, I think it should really change that. I'm really hoping that Heavy has that as well, because I think again they got knocked out a bit too early game 3. My question is whether or not they can still ride off that momentum that they got from game 1 and game 2. They played well. It is a battle royale after all. Things happen. Positions that are unfortunate in terms of where they're going, drops that can change from different places. Just too many variables that can really change the trajectory of what you want, but that doesn't mean that you cannot keep on, changing that playbook page and say, okay, page 1 didn't work on this map, let's go to page 2. Okay, page 2 didn't work, let's go back to page 1 again since that worked on map 1, right? Why not?
Exactly. I mean, that's one thing why we keep telling as well that you shouldn't have just one direction approach or one-dimensional approach. As much as possible, you have different variables to work with and then play with those variables. And we've seen that from Team Heavy. The adjustment that they did from the first going to the second, it's just unfortunate that it didn't work for the third, but I do agree that's something that they need to forget and just plan out a different tactic. Just make those adjustments. But WHE tried to do the same thing. I know that they're proficient from the early days of knockout stage, and they falter in some instances, especially from today. But I love that slowly but surely they also put in numbers: 5 elimination from Bermuda, 7 elimination from Purgatory, and then when they jump into Solara, take advantage of situation we're in. Solara is new. Not everyone take advantage of this map, so why not do it? And they brought in 23 elimination.
That's crazy.
Putting in a total of 35 points that just catapulted them on that number 1 spot. Now, the only question though is, will the curse be broken once again by WAG? Because when I talk about the curse, WAG is one of the best examples when it happens. They grab Booyah and then they falter the next game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you here. But let's talk a little bit about team performance here. EVOS, they haven't gotten a Booyah yet. Abax, coming into this game as the 5th, he hasn't been coming in yet. But the rest of the players here putting in numbers in terms of damage, in terms of eliminations. What do you think? Are they performing poorly, or is this something that we can already expect from EVOS? What do you think, Mr. Stats?
You did mention earlier we're in EVOS Divine. They tried their best in the CQCs, but they falter. And earlier, we talked about that as well. They jump into the compound using the slide rails and fall back because they couldn't take advantage. And Razia is one key factor to why that is happening, because Razia is more of a long range. If he doesn't perform, the rest of the teams follow through. We've seen great stride being done by EVOS Divine, the rest of the team, but Razia still needs that great frontliner. And Aim God has the potential, but it is not showing just yet. And another comparison of what EVOS Divine needs to do is from what we've seen AGAL or AG Global has done. They have 2 on the back line as Sniper and then Cypher on the front line. If they can replicate that, emulate that, then they might be able to take over this game. But enough talking, let's go into the playing, because the next map would be hot. Because we are jumping into the desert lands of Kalahari. Let's see if RRQ can rise again in this game.
We would love for any of the Indonesian teams or even another country to rise up here, because you gotta break that streak, guys. You cannot be letting Vietnam steal away this day here. Regardless, coming into drops as well, I'm keeping a close eye on Heavy, whether or not there's gonna be a comeback moment from them. I'm keeping an eye on WAG because, like you mentioned, curses do happen a lot, and I want to see if that curse is true. And for the rest of the teams here, you want to see EVOS be able to get a Booyah, bring that same performance performance we saw during EWC. We want to see RRQ put in that firepower. They just felt like RRQ felt very, very shy today compared to their usual very aggressive self that loves to go all in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that is missing from RRQ. Not quite sure if it's something that they are working on, has worked on, or still in the process. So let's see if that would show up this time, because I'm pretty sure they're confident in this map for RRQ. Same goes for Evo's Divine, because this is a playground for Russia from that long snipe. WAG though, or Heavy rather, was on confinement earlier, and I don't think any hot drops or early engagement would be happening up there. WAG is dropping into Mammoth and down south, unless the shift to the circle would be huge. I think they're still safe and not so much a problem in terms of rotating, unless Virtus Pro would try to hunt them, and the hit list has just showed up, and T Kui would be in the crosshairs or in the minimap of Virtus Pro.
Okay, walk me through something here. I understand that Kalahari is a little bit more harder in terms of rotations, as well as, you know, situations. We talked a little bit about who are the kings of Kalahari here, whether or not they can come online. But in your situation as well, in your opinion, which other team also has high potential to get a booyah and also run away with eliminations on this map?
Well, RRQ is already in the board. We also have a few teams a little bit further, which is BTR. So they are under Brim United, PE Sports, and Team Falcons. So
okay.
It's quite a long list before Bigatron, but at least they still have a good potential to make it work. Long range is something that Joel has already put in like his worth, and this is something that they need to capitalize. That the map itself, they need to capitalize on what Joel can offer in this game. Otherwise, they might just be good on paper but not on real.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough, right? I think you mentioned both teams that are, you know, really good on this map are both Indonesian teams. My question is, would Kagendra also be part of that list?
Well, Kagendra isn't performing that well. Currently, out of all the teams, 18 teams, they're 5th from the bottom. Only 18 on placement, 37 on elimination, and that's only including in the matches that we played. So it's tough because we've seen the CQCs. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done, but on long range, I don't think they're putting it so much of damage as well. So there's a lot of work for a team that is new to this tournament in Southeast Asia, but I'm looking forward that Kagendra, knowing that Indonesia has reigned Kalahari overall, can take a few pages from some of the region's books. But speaking of battle and region that might be taking over, it is Zodak going against Expand, and Zodak reigns Malaysia in the sub.
Oh, it's so unlucky that you're actually going to be the team to eliminate your brother team as well in this race. But I think it's a good start for Toda as well. They've been doing fairly well the entirety of today, as MEC also steps up onto the plate, and BTR is the one that's gonna be in trouble, as Kyung will be the first to fall. The Exel barely alive, but MEC, they're rushing. Finds Koja, drops that blue wall, plays off one another, but the position and movement from the rest of BTR is just so much. But Exel still manages to steal Koja away. You thought he's gonna be able to run away with that. Nah, false hope, homies. False hope.
Well, let's see though. Ma'al might be able to take advantage of the situation. There goes Riptide Rhythm onto the glue wall, and June is already down. A finisher will be done, and it would be from Dudes. Now, RRQ taking their high ground to a better advantage against teams who are just straggling in there. But Magna Esports, how well they played in there. Hopefully they can survive and pull away, as we can see a little bit of trade-off happening between Evo's Divine and Team Flash. Now, the Zom can zoom in, but against two, there's not so much that you can do despite of having a time turner in play, and Evo is winning the game with 2 points and still a good chance that they can bring back Ray and be a full squad.
Yeah, and I like how EVOS just really played around the utility as well. Understanding what the turner does means that they're just going to collapse into the area and just surround him from both sides. You cannot even... How are you going to do when your two players are just pushing to you as well, right? You just have to concede to that. Now, Tora is in a great position. They have 4 eliminations already. They have a high ground held in their position. Look at that. They're even putting in damage to a Kagendra here. A bit of chip damage, a bit of, I would say, pot shots would be the right word. But it's not enough to really get those pickoffs. I think in this situation, if they're being very aware, very adept, they could be able to spot a lot of rotations and be able to really figure out where exactly they want to go and which teams they want to fight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do agree with the position that Todak is taking right now and the weapon as well. If I'm not mistaken, I saw 2 AC-80, 1 AWM, and 1 Cord. Now, Cord is, I know there's a lot of bullets in here, but the fire rate is just quite well in a long-range accuracy for this gun. So, despite of not being a sniper, it's still a good weapon to bring in Kalahari. But speaking of bringing, there's not so much that you can bring, Jans, because 3 is on you. And Magna Esports, I know we boosted them well after the engagement earlier, but hopefully don't falter and bring back all of their players because they are still on the hit list. They are marked on the minimap, and GOW is trying to hunt them down. Though it's not GOW who had triggered the hit list against them. So I guess if GOW doesn't move towards that, Magna Esports will still be in a safe spot.
Yeah, Magna Esports has a lot of space they can work with. I mean, still very much early into the game. I think Bayfront should be somewhere they hit next, and it's fairly empty, so they can bring back their teammates in. But the rotation, though, is gonna be quite long because the circle shift all the way to the southern side is not gonna be easy, especially when you're a bit later. And there's a lot of situations today when you're later to the circle. How many times have teams really been gatekeeping the other teams outside and pressuring them against the blue zone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of instances that you can do that, and that's one reason as well why we always ask them to move. It's a good thing that the hook gun is available, even the launch pad is available for them to move that quickly as well, and it's only a matter of time because the shift of every circle is quite different compared to the past. But Virtus Pro right now might be into a surprise. They haven't spotted Kagendra and the potential of backstab, but no, the dead has been spotted, and here comes the skirmish. Almost everyone on N590, and Expo Z will be taken out by CD7. Now here is the scramble. Waranya and Nameless need to be a little bit stronger. There goes Valiant Dash, and Raz is being chased, but the ring around the rosy is not working for Virtus Pro, but Raz has been taken down. Dead is down as well. Even CD7 on the ground. Rap would be in disadvantage against 3 players, and what can you do?
Oh, no.
Just move away. But I don't think he will be able to take them down. He still might survive. And there you have it. As a battle of Virtus Pro and Kagendra continues, despite of how we want to hype up Kagendra, it seems like they are losing out.
I love the positioning of Diamond that throughout the entirety of that fight, despite Exposé going down, is Nameless and Waranya playing in the front lines, putting down those glue walls, making it hard for them to get even close, and Diamond goes up the elevation and makes it pain from above.
I mean, that is something else. And it's tough, though, because we've seen Virtus Pro in more similar situation, and they just can win their CQCs, especially with that Cassie connection between Nameless and Diamond, and that is a huge threat. Now, let's see, though, if Kagendra can still survive, because it is the White Tigers that is swarming with the Garudas right now, but I don't think the final player of Kagendra has been spotted already, and what Evos is planning to do right now is just go for rotation, and where they land, it is onto the sub where RQ is, and earlier where Todak has reigned supreme. So let's see, though, if this shift the circle or shift the teams can bring in more chaos.
Well, Baal already got picked up already. It's going to be Aim God over there on the other side of this map here. As Flash just running for their lives. They're going to be getting that top up there. And in this situation, I think it's good that prioritizing this gives you a bit of a upgrade as you go to the last few fights there. As another team did, I think it was Kagendra just now, that got knocked out already. That is unfortunate. We were just hyping them up a little bit more, but I think your stats really didn't lie on what their weaknesses are on this particular map.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the hunt was on for Virtus Pro, and they didn't let up. I don't think so. Koja received damage, but I don't think it's from Team Flash. Unless Coda has been used, then Koja is still safe if he stayed quiet. But time is not on him right now. The Blues already closing in. The shift in the circle would be troublesome, not only for Koja, but also for Team Flash. So not quite sure what the plan is, but they do have that zip line to work with, and they just have to decide whether left or right and just leave Koja behind.
It's very high risk though. You're gonna be sitting next to someone decides to shoot at you, right? But in these situations, you gotta make something work here. Over at the sub, Toda is still holding. I'm not too sure if they actually did manage the rotation to see the rotation coming in from heavy at all. They do have the weapons as well, so that's gonna be really scary. As one member there, Flash, Shin, and ABCD knocked down already, running for their lives. They're not out of the zone yet because they have to go and pick up their teammates as BTR completely collapsed all over them. Rushing forward right now, decides to bring in the pain. The Zom alive, gonna reposition to the backside here. His teammates can steal away the attention. He's gonna be able to get away with murder, but Kyung aware. The Zom and him are gonna swing out to one another, but the glue wall keeps them at bay.
Oh, good recovery being done by BTR right now, but unfortunately, Joel is down on the ground already, and Shin and Death is on high ground. The Zom putting pressure with the glue wall melter, and a full squad of Team Flash would be troublesome for BTR. But ABCD has been knocked down, and earlier we were worried for Coach's sake because he was alone, and Team Flash is warming him. But I guess this is part of the plan. Just getting their information and then just relaying it to the rest of BTR. But since BTR is losing this battle, they have to pull away. But Nyx would be taken down as he would be flying or trying to fly away. But for Shin and the rest of Team Flash, they need to move fast because how far they are next phase would be troublesome because the gatekeeping would start now.
Yeah, because as a majority of teams are just really stationed up on the northern side of the circle area as well. So Flash gonna go through. They passed by, I think, 3 teams as well. I'm quite surprised that no one shot at them, so it does put them in a more advantageous state here because they do have a bit of cover. And over on the other side, no, not happening quite a long time here because a lot of teams are already scrambling to shoot them all the way from the top side. Here's WAG bringing the pain from the high ground terrain. ABCD manages to get that reset. EVOS as well, keeping a close eye on them. They're sandwiched.
Let's see though. Let's see if this is something that Team Flash can survive because ABCD only one remains at this point. For Virtus Pro, they lost Diamond in engagement, but they will be meeting up with Makna Esports. So let's see if Makna Esports can survive this. Only a 10th in between them, and a lot of recovery needs to be done. The Axel doesn't have an angle to put so much pressure, but here comes June for the rush and goes for the takedown against Exposé. And it seems like Virtus Pro is in the losing end at this point. But 1v1 might not work for Makna Esports. June needs to pull away, leave Nameless behind, and Makna would win this fight against Virtus Pro. Now, there are only 2 players remaining, but not so much can be done later on.
Honestly, a really incredible fight when you look at that as well, winning by the skin of their teeth. But the fight's not done quite yet because the Rip got a nade onto Koja, and this is massive. As they move forward as well, I think for them, I think they're sort of stuck in a corner here because there's just so many teams fighting on the right side of the circle.
Yeah, stuff though on the right side of circle. We have Todak, we have Heavy, RRQ, as well as GOW, and a little bit of BTR in the middle. Now, as we can see right now, Bigatron will be eliminated. It was unfortunate because earlier they tried to get away and they were caught off guard. Now, it is a battle of Heavy, where Heavy is trying to go for survivability, but stuck between a mountain and a hard place like GOW would be troublesome for them. And even from above them, they have RRQ to deal with. But the blue would, or the shift of the circle, would be the saving grace for them. But I just saw WAG on the horizon and RRQ is jumping on them. But as we can see, a lot of damage has been dealt by WAG already, and they are all primed to go against RRQ.
I love this because they were already anticipating the idea that third party was going to be happening. Abe almost gets knocked down here, brought back into the game. 18 Deer will be playing side by side with him, and Place One also falls because EVOS also decides to join in on this party. X-Bar barely alive. They quickly deal with the glue wall there, but X-Bar puts another one down, managing to isolate him, but then a double swing forward means the WAG cannot hold on. But RQ now in trouble because every time a glue wall gets put down, it doesn't really matter. They don't have zone control. They cannot get inside. Either they go down to the gun barrels of EVOS or they go down to the blue. Because Jun as well is going to be found out as well here, and they know he's close.
Oh, he is close, and the saving grace could have been the interception onto the other side, but Evos will now be meeting that interception. June, though, going solo, not being spotted by Ray, but he goes down from the hands of Rasia, up close and personal with that AWM. Now, Heavy, though they have one knockdown, only one elimination for them, they are in a good spot to shift with the circle. Evos Divine, though, putting a lot of pressure on Todak at this point, and the Delsa will be taken down, and that rush by Evos Divine would spell trouble and might be the elimination of some of the players of GOW, but Heavy is just hanging back, chilling like a villain at this point, and they might come up as the savior in this game, getting the third booyah if they can survive this onslaught.
For real, because they have nice high ground advantage as well, but positioning is a little bit more far away than the circle. EVOS is looking good. Ray with already 2 picks onto Heavy. Is Kabi and Mufasa knocked down already as well before Alan finally trades out one more. Ray will be going down as well. The rest of EVOS decide to just rendezvous on another play close and be able to bring their teammates back into the game. The same could be said about Heavy as well here. So they're evened up one more time. In this situation here, no one really has advantage of the circle as Go opens it up, finds Kabi, finds Go and Cry. Whatever EVOS has done, they're stolen away. But at the very least, EVOS still gets one more point to their name. EVOS jumping forward, trying to find the last member of GOW. They do so perfectly, and they break the streak of the Vietnamese teams. EVOS with a booyah.
We know, we told everyone that this map by Indonesian and Evos Divine, the White Tigers, has reigned this battle. Not only in the beginning, not only in the mid, but also in the final, surviving with 4 players, prioritizing in position as well as finding exit strategy if in case they're stuck, and that is the victory, the success of Evos Divine at this point with 18 elimination plus that booyah points, the booyah grab by the White Tigers.
That's insane. They're so good at positions. Honestly, I had my eye on Tora in terms of positioning, but I felt like they weren't proactive enough. They saw Kakendra rotating. I was really hoping that they would go for a little bit more proactive, more aggressive stance to really stop them from being able to do so, but they allowed them to just really move around that map. You have so much control of that area. Take advantage of that. And I think when you give all these teams, space to work with, they are really able to just really, I think, bring that snowball the advantage forward. Excuse me. EVOS is definitely one of these teams as well, and I have to say that you were right as well. Russia having that advantage for the long range really opens up a lot of opportunities for these teams. 18 eliminations is incredible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one thing that is a great potential for not only Evos Divine, not only RRQ, because we keep talking about them when we jump into Kalahari, but every team that has a good sniper and some of their rushers as well that can play on the long range, like the AC-80 that we've seen earlier, and a combination of several long-range weapons that has been used from that game by Evos Divine. So that is one thing that needs to be done by every team, that just to make sure that there's not one or two or only a few that has advantage. But in a bit, we're going to see the highlights right now, a little bit of recap of what happened, but I'm really loving the storyline right now. As you did mention, the streak has been broken, and this might be a chance for Evos Divine to take reign all throughout, because once we go into Nexterra, they are topping the board. When it goes into Alpine, though, that's where they might falter. So if they can stack up onto the points in Kalahari, which they did, as well as Nexterra that will be following, then they might be able to keep themselves afloat and be on a high note ending this day.
Yeah, honestly, in this situation as well, coming into this one, we have Ray with Tatsuya in this situation. I love the fact that you have a player like Ray to not only open up things for your team as well, but also show aggression. In a lot of situations, I think that Ray found a lot of opening pickoffs, not really in terms of, excuse me, I cannot English today, in terms of starting up fights, but most importantly, it's just those pickoffs, right? You want to start a fight, you see two teams starting in front there, what are you going to do here? You rely on Ray to really find that one pickoff from mid to long range. And then suddenly, it gives you so much space to just completely collapse. The White Tigers, when it comes to fights, when they collapse, it's so quick. Suddenly, you're just dead. And then you're just like, what the heck happened here? We got one player knocked down. We're trying to rendezvous. We're trying to just bring ourselves back to a 4. And suddenly, we're gone.
Yeah, that's one thing though. I mean, earlier I did mention that Aim God is one that we are eyeing to be that great front line. But I guess I can be wrong. He did put in numbers, Aim God, but comparing to damage that Ray has brought in, a lot of knockdowns in the front line, and then just the follow-up on the back line coming from Russia. And it's quite balanced between all these players, all of what combination these players of Evo's Divine has to put in. But I love the combination of active skill as well. Ray and Aim God, they will be racing in the front line. Like the Rebel Rush plus the Valiant Dash, if anyone would try to stop them, they would be taken down. Plus the A124 on that backup, and then the sniping power from the Wonder Kid himself. A total of 30 points with that 18 elimination and the Booyah placement point. They will or might be on the top of the board after this game.
It's crazy because we're starting to see those points just really go beyond that 30 point mark, right? I think in a lot of situations we see a lot more, I would say, fair team distributions. But today we're seeing teams just really, like if say one team rampages, it really just affects the entirety of that lobby. Look at eliminations here. It was like what? 12, 9, 6, 4, 1. After that, it was just like maybe 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're not seeing like a big, we're not seeing like teams be able to get at least 4 or 3 or more than that as well. So that is something that's really exciting to see as well. When you look at today's standings here, EVOS is now, as you mentioned, your math is way better than mine, by the way, here. You know, going all the way to first place here. Eliminations not as high as WAG, but placement points put them ahead of the rest as well. And this is why I said consistency is key. Booyah is great, but when you're consistently on that top 4, top 5, it really launches you forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you did mention top 4, top 5 because on Bermuda, they were top 4, top 3 in Purgatory, top 5 in Solara, and now the Booyah. That they were consistent on the top, and at this point, if this continue on, even without getting that Booyah, they can't maintain this unless someone can bring in or rake in a lot of numbers. But one thing I would say though, WAG still managed to put in a lot of fight. They didn't falter early into that game, and they put in 7 points. 7 points is good. Not enough to really put themselves on that #1 spot, but at least being in the top 3 is better than being pulled down after a good Booyah. So we still have 3 Vietnamese team on the top 5 of our list, and there's still there's still a lot of contention of that #1 spot, but it doesn't matter. We still have not only today but also tomorrow to go for that fight in the top 6, and if they can just invest this much onto those points, I'm pretty sure it would be difficult for them to be taken down that easily.
You know, I was just having a look just now at the abilities that what EVOS brought in. I think a majority of the players actually brought in Arvon, and I think yeah, it doesn't really last that long. But I think the idea of knowing where exactly to go and where to look with that pet skill, the binoculars, excuse me, kind of really helps as well. Because I was wondering, like, how exactly are they able to execute at the right timing, where they're able to just really go in as a unit and just really avoid other teams. Those binoculars, especially since I think 3 players of that team brought that into the game, gives you a lot of value. And I think in this situation, especially on a map like Kalahari, being able to detect where players are and just avoid those long range those players kind of like playing those hawk's eye, playing the marksman, gives you a bit more, I would say, advantage compared to the rest. So good on them for being able to just really abuse that, because that is a very, very scary skill to have.
Now that you mention it, I'm afraid that Garena will be saying, all right, let's go for one active, one pet skill per player.
No, don't do that!
No, but I mean, it's a good point as well. Having the Arvon it gives
Yeah.
you more of the advantage. You mentioned spot out area from far away, so
Yeah.
you can like plan out your rotation. All right, you see on the binoculars, you see a couple of players are full squad in one specific area that's already out. That's out of the question. We move to a different place, so it helps them, and decision making would be much easier if you have those information, and that's what we love to see, especially in open maps like Kalahari. And that's one reason as well why that like Kalahari and Evo Divine Evo Divine and Kalahari managed to survive with 4-man strong. We've seen that not for most teams, but bringing that into table for the binoculars from 3, if not all, can give you more of advantage. But for Expand, I think there's a little bit of substitution. Too fast would be pulled out, and Rama will be put into play. And it's difficult to see though for Expand. There's a lot of hopes for this team, especially as they've gone quite far in terms of performance or previous performance compared to today. But imagine 4 maps and they only gotten 9 points. It's tough to call if Expand can grab that ticket.
And it's just so unfortunate, right? Kalahari just now getting knocked out by, your own countrymen as well is just a situation where you don't want to happen. And you have to play a lot of catch up, because when you go out early with no points, you have to do double the effort in the next one to really make out for that lost time. And on top of that as well, speaking of substitutions, we also have BTR, Koja out, Azrael in. Can you explain to me a little bit about what we can expect with Azrael into that BTR roster?
Well, Azrael is one of the new introductor into the team, and there's a few more that he has done in terms of being in the midline as well as joining the fray in the front line. So Azrael might be, or we might be seeing more of a passive-aggressive approach from BTR compared to the too much aggression coming from the previous maps. Because earlier with Koja, he's always in the front line, but
Yes,
Azrael doesn't stay that much in the front. He helps out with Joel, and I guess that's one important, because from earlier, if I'm not mistaken, Joel was knocked down, and that's where the rest of BTR faltered, and that's they need to catapult or launch pod away, and Dix has been spotted and taken out. So if Joel will have a backup like Azrael, then the 2-2 split might work for them. And then with Azrael, I believe also uses either Tatsuya or an Oscar for the Valiant Nest, can reposition quite quickly to help out with front.
Yeah, so my question is for this next map, right, Nexterra, would this, I would say dynamic really suit them? Because Nexterra is such an interesting map. There's so many different types of areas and trains to work with. So what is the idea on playing a little bit more passive on this map compared to the other maps where they prefer a more heavy-handed approach?
Yeah, compared to the other maps, Nexterra is populated with small compounds. Not only the big areas, but if you look at the map itself, it is peppered with small areas that you can hide away from. So from Bermuda earlier, as well as Purgatory, we've seen like real estate going out, but the agents happy because everything's occupied. This time, there's a lot of real estate to work with, and being passive gives you the opportunity to either rotate quite well or take advantage of your position on the long range. But you need to spot out which area or which compound is occupied, or can you focus on as being target, because as I mentioned, there's plenty in this map.
Yeah, and I think on top of that as well, let's have a look at Coach Hill here in terms of stats. 10 elims, 9 assists with 5k damage. I think for a while now in his career, there has never been a time where we don't see Coach Hill's name really light up in the server. He's a very aggressive player, really good on the collapse when it comes to those kills, especially after Rasha is able to get those pickoffs as well. He's so close to just really, follow up with those eliminations as well. So what, in your idea here coming into this game, do you think Coach Hill's performance has been satisfactory or even going beyond this season?
Well, for Coach Hill, yes, I did. Like, we keep seeing great performance being done by this guy. I know we don't pointed out as the one taking the lead in the front line because he's more of a support role, making sure that Razia has cover and also backing up those in front line, which is Ray and Aimgod. But I would want to see more of, I would say, collaboration between the three frontliners. And if Coach Shield can bring in that numbers like 10 elimination after 3 or 4 match, then it would be exponential if everyone would be in sync in terms of rush. And that cue would be coming from Razia as well. Like, Razia as a sniper, I know he can make those hits, but the follow-up is needed. If Razia is too efficient on the long range, the delay on the follow-up would be something that they would miss out. And I guess that's one thing that they need to work on. Quickness in the follow-up, or probably for Razia not to look too far away. Because if he cannot confirm that elimination, then all those shots are a waste.
That's true. There are a lot of situations where Rasha got some pickoffs and he wasn't able to secure those eliminations, and that made it so hard for them to really, not so hard, but I mean it's so easy for other teams to really steal away eliminations. We saw RQ steal away one. We saw teams like VP who are so proactive at just watching these fights steal away some eliminations as well. So I think they have to be a bit more aware and a little bit more adept, because I think that in these situations you have to be able to, secure fights, but rather secure those points. You don't want to give it for free to other teams here. Regardless, team performance as well. There was a team that was shown just on the screen, which was GOW. I was so sure they would going a little bit more further than they did in that last map. Regardless, they did perform, which I was very happy about. I almost thought that they were gonna just prolong that Vietnamese squad rampage today. So, you know, unfortunately it didn't happen, but also phew, because if it's just a full Vietnamese day as well, it's not gonna be that fun as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's something that we want to see even more from GOW. But also, before we proceed into the next map, I would like to thank our sponsor from the spring up until the fall, which is Red Bull. And this is a reminder that everyone needs to trust their energy. If you want energy like me and Tash is showing right now, you grab your can of Red Bull. And we are now jumping in onto our 5th map. This is Nexterra. Let's see what the future holds for this team. Would it be the reign of Indonesia taking over Vietnam, or would it be a different region right now taking Booyah in this game? It's a flight path coming from the south into the north. It's quite fair for everyone, but you know how it is. Everything's fair in Battle Royale. Let's see who's going to go in for a hot drop. Seems like Magna would want to go aggressive against RRQ in the south side.
You know, I would love for Magna to go aggressive. I love that, but they really need to do one thing and one thing only. Please secure your fights. I am begging you guys to do so here, because a lot of your fights have been in situations where, yeah, you start off really, really hot, but the ending is just not in the best of situations here. Now, RQ, they pass by each other. 18 Deer will be the first one to spot out Jun, and Jun understands his predicament, jumps out, but Jun's already chasing. In this situation, shoots him from the back. At the very least, he's aware of that, so he shoots back first, drops down, and plays a ring around the rosy moments around those glue walls. And Jun, I can really tell he's not even bothered or even scared. He's the one putting in the damage as Jun completely gets overwhelmed. But here comes the cavalry, because the Axel will be the one to turn things around.
The Axel bringing the axe into the battlefield right now. Well, he brought in a P90, but you know what I mean. The axe is slashing against 2 players of RRQ. But a quick recovery being done by Maal right now, and M60 would be pulled out. Long range as well, great firepower, but Alif will try to go in for the chase. They don't want to deal with Maal, but they want to go at least eliminate a Bay for that 3rd elimination. And Alif would be in the front line. Hopefully he doesn't move that quickly, leaving the rest of the teams behind, because once they are spread too thin, that's where Magna Esports is faltering.
Yeah, you really, really don't want that to happen. Magna Esports, yeah, they had some form of success, but it was a little bit too short-lived. I would love to see some consistency, coming back from his team. They got their 2 elims already, great. And now RRQ has brought them back into the game, which means the opportunity to farm up for more points is definitely there. The Riptide Rhythm shorn out, which means that the Axel is going to find a different place for cover, while his teammates finally make it forward. Took a bit of time, and the Axel is knocked down here. Maal wants to secure those pickups, but the high ground advantage coming in from the rest of his team will not allow him to do so. So Maal will be the one to fall instead.
Oh, let's see though. I mean, RQ has recovered or revived their teammates already. A base still alive, despite of the chase being done by Magna Esports, and Alif will try to go in for a fight in a 1v1. So great isolation being done by Alif at this point. At least no backup will be coming in. They still have, or they're giving the rest of the teams a chance to loot up and then recover onto the edge of the circle. But if they don't spot dudes who might be going in for backstab, or Maal who is going in for the flank,
what?
then they might be taken out. But speaking of taken out, Zodak, without even being seen on the map, has been eliminated in this game, and well, slowly losing their chance, because overall before this game they only have 8 eliminations.
That's so unfortunate. They had a game where they were able to get eliminations in the last map as well. Didn't go as far as you want to. And now they're the first team getting knocked out here. I thought that was going to be the start of their momentum. In this situation, I guess it's not so. Now, MEC has managed to get the reset. Again, their team is already back into the game. But where Kagendra is, Heavy has also decided to join in this area. My question is, what exactly is going to be happening here? Kagendra going to go and take this fight as well, because Heavy has a lot of advantage in terms of positioning.
Oh, let's see though. I mean, Heavy has been doing quite well in the passive mode. Now, let's see if they can switch it quite quickly on the passive-aggressive approach. Now, Azrael, I did mention they will be playing passively right now, are rushing into things compared to what we've seen earlier. But for RRQ, they don't want the battle to end. Earlier, it was Magna Esports. Now it's GOW, and they have 4 elimination already on the board. And Maal, even from a long range, will try to shoot down on or rip, but Dion says no, we're going to get away on a vehicle, and I don't think Maal will be able to catch up. So there's a chance for them to pull away. But for Toots, it didn't stop. Despite of them being brought down by Magna Esports, they just got back and recovered, and is firing back against the Cats, or the Wildcats, which is MEC.
You know, I love that from RRQ as well. They didn't allow them to get shoved around. Instead, they found their way to get as many eliminations as possible from many different areas. And suddenly, it was Magna Esports that had the advantage. They turned around and said, okay, you know what? Let's find a different way to go aggressive and serve them a taste of their own medicine. Now, Alif is alone here getting chased by Virtuous Pro. As Diamond will be the one to find him in the end. Not the best outcome for this team. They really do not want that to happen. But at the very least, I'm pretty sure they still have another survivor around somewhere. So it's not the end of the road quite yet. But the recovery, as I said earlier, coming in from the members of from RRQ is just really fun to watch. They have 5 eliminations already. And all this time you think, oh my gosh, they're on the back foot.
Well, almost. Magna Esports, there's one thing that we've seen from big teams. If they cannot end the fight or completely wipe out the opponents in 10-20 seconds after a rush, then they just pull away and just continue with their rotation. And I think that is where Magna Esports falter, because they tried to go for the chase, trying their best, or like trying very hard to go in for the chase to add more to the elimination, but didn't work for them, and it was flipped. Now for Virtus Pro right now, 3 elimination already. 1 has gone down from the team of GOW. Now Rip might be saying or seeing rest in peace right now. Footsteps has been heard. A double glue wall melter as well as ice grenade will be thrown. But this glue wall, not quite sure who put it up, but I'm pretty sure he's being blamed because he could have taken Rip down already.
He's gonna get sandwiched here, coming through as well. Bought by some time with the time turner and the glue wall as well. I'm not sure how he's alive this long here. Finally gone down. He's not been going down without a fight, that's for sure. Unfortunate for him as well, but Virtus Pro has been doing great at finding these stragglers, these I'd say these situations where they find these players I would say isolated and alone from the rest of the teammates, and being able to just pocket them securely. That's 4 eliminations, 3 just by Diamond walking around. I'm pretty sure there was one member from GOW just now, just hanging around out in the open. He was not expecting someone to move outside, and then he was quickly picked off.
Yeah, I guess the plan for GOW is to go for that vending machine and revive the teammates. Did manage to get revived, but they were in the path of Virtus Pro. Thus, the rotation of Virtus Pro has caught them and has knocked them down. Now, for RQ, though, a little bit late in rotation. Well, this is good if they want to maintain and make sure that they end up on the final circle. Because, as you did mention earlier, it doesn't seem like it from the beginning, but they did put up the numbers already on in terms of elimination, and 5 on the board. Now for WAG, they are being passive, just chilling, like what I mentioned earlier, chilling like a villain for WAG. But let's see though if they can spot any chicken at this point. Otherwise, you will be chicken like a chicken.
There's chicken like a chicken. Where's the turkey though?
Turkey's gone cold.
Sure.
You don't want
Anyways,
cold turkey.
No, they're tough. They're very tough. And speaking of cold turkey, I'm wondering which team will be the one to go cold turkey here. I would say back off, because definitely EVO's position, definitely known. AimGod is definitely not keeping quiet about his position as well. So every team just hunkered down and just trying to make sure that they don't get, I would say, surrounded from different angles and just, broken into their bottom side of the area. BTR hasn't had the best of days, if you ask me, as well. So they want to try and catch up and do well this particular map.
Let's see though. I mean, I was just focused on the minimap right now. As you can see, we have 4 teams because of 4 circles in there for the hit list, and we are seeing the standstill once again, similar to what we've seen in Bermuda and Purgatory, and this is something that they need to pull away from. But 18 here couldn't pull away from that fight, has been knocked down and now being picked up. Now, if RQ can manage to pull away, it'll get a little bit of distance against the GOW, because that's how they work best. If they have the distance, and then once a knockdown happen onto GOW, then that's where they rush in. So let's see what the plan is. Abe's already leading the fray in terms of that flank and probably taking the high ground, but Maal is still nowhere to be seen. And there you go. Maal not taking the high ground first. Protection for Maal. That is priority for RQ at this
Protect
point.
the president! Don't allow him! Keep your head down, sir! Don't do this! Keep him alive, yeah. I think it's a good call, honestly. Mahal has been doing phenomenal with those long-range fights, putting in those early damage as well. I am wondering how long they're going to be sharing this compound here, because it's been a good 2 to 3 minutes. They have not moved at all, despite all of that sound. And meanwhile, for VP, they're just taking their time, moving around the map that they own it. I'm surprised that no one has thrown pot shots at them quite yet.
Oop. Let's see though if that story can maintain, because speaking of pot shots, a lot of shots has been made already, and MEC or Magna Esports, this is round 2 between these 2 teams, and RQ has been pushed away. Not expecting that it was Magna Esports, or probably anticipating that a third party might happen. So this is what I'm talking about. Well, it looks like it. It looks like it. But this is what I'm talking about. Because of the number of compounds, small compounds in the area, there's a lot of hiding spot that you can do, and things can go very, very slow, similar to what we see right now. But as you can see, the shift of the circle would be towards RQ, Magna Esports, and EVO's Divine. Well, let's add WAG as well. And Virtus Pro and GOW would be dropping in the same spot together with Team Flash.
Yeah, I love that, honestly. There's just so many teams just trying to cross into Zipway to get into that circle. And Virtus Pro, what they're trying to do here is take advantage of the area, find a good position closer to the circle to be able to pressure out GOW and Flash. Now they have the compound held here. They can just really swing out, really hope that Flash and GOW finish off one another, and they can do their own thing, steal away eliminations.
Yeah, let's see though. I mean, it's a civil war on the other side, and Virtus Pro was just is waiting for that coup to happen. Demon though on the higher ground. I think Team Flash has pulled away quite easily from that potential engagement, but they will be heading out in the open. But speaking of out in the open, Kagendra has just jumped in out in the open on the bridge, and WAG is just waiting on I guess that's Team Heavy on the other side. But the battle continues from all sides of the map. Expose will be taken out with Godnate coming from GOW, and this is where GOW rush in.
Yeah, I love this for them because they're taking advantage of VP, who are a little bit more unaware of how they're rushing forward. And VP, they don't waste any time. They're saying, okay, we were at a very disadvantaged situation. Let's pull away. Let's make a bit of space between us and just rush through into the circle from a different area, because they also are very aware that Flash is close as well. They're not being chased by the other team. They're trying to find another way inside here, but I don't think like GOW wants to let go. They're trying to dig their claws deep into this team as the Bears try to rush away. Waranya had to heal a few times already. He's low. A lot of chip damage comes forward there. He gets knocked down finally as the zone also pressures them. And on the other end, Flash as well is playing Gatekeeper and Spoilsport. Waranya Exposé knocked out already. WAG is healthy and happy here. Rushes forward here. Takes the full blow off the fight to Heavy as well. As Heavy is struggling outside of the zone and the area. The performance and movement coming from WAG is phenomenal. And everyone is getting knocked down. Left, right, center. Cyrus being the first one to get knocked down.
Helasido, if there will be any pick-up, recovery being done by WAG, but no being stuck in a corner in there would be their downfall. Now Heavy has just knocked into the doors of not one but two teams, and also we've seen a little bit of a join a third party being done by Expand against those on the Arsenal. Team Flash though managed to survive, tried to make shots onto Expand right now, exposing their position, but earlier our read was Virtus Pro are the ones who might be gatekeeping the other teams in that area, but they were caught off guard by GOW. And well, I'm just happy to see that one of the players from Virtus Pro managed to survive a little bit longer than GOW, but it would be difficult to survive if two teams like Team Flash and Expand will still be on your way. So if this finish up quite quickly, one of the players of Virtus Pro can still survive, and Luffy will be going down for Trogon coming from Shin, and another, the Zom with a Trogon, and slowly Expand is losing their player. Even the newcomer into this game, the substitution, would still be going down from the hands of ABCD and Team Flash with 8 elimination already. Not so flashy earlier, but now they are the spotlight.
I love how Flash was being able to just walk away for a three-way fight unscathed, and now they were the ones on top here because VP is struggling, but Shin falls. They've done the damage already. I'm not too sure if ABCD can actually go in for that pickup, because it's gonna be a member all the way from the low ground here that steals away that last elimination here. RRQ, middle center circle, also in the compound. They look good in terms of where they're holding, but the question is whether the last circle is gonna push. It's gonna be so hard as 18 Gear quickly eliminates Heavy, who are outside of the circle. We're trying to get into the zone, and because he has a nice angle forward, just a point-blank shot to the face means that all the players of Heavy are now in trouble, taking damage from the zone as well, and they get knocked at 7th. This is not the outcome Heavy wanted after the very, I would say, big start to the day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they are slowly being pushed down because of the numbers of points that has been brought in by EVOS, WAG, and now RRQ. But Magna Esports, good on them. They're still surviving. That they just need to move in with the circle. But Kagendra, we've seen them gatekeep a lot of teams, even steal away a lot of points from those in the battle, but on the lower ground. Kyong has not been spotted, and MAZ or Magna Esports has already taken range of that ground floor, forcing Kyong to move in with EVOS, Divine, as well as RRQ. But the shift of the circle will be happening soon, and this would be chaos. No one moved early, and everyone would be in a great fight. Kagendra though with a launch pod, hopefully it's not too late, and they will be the first ones in the zone.
I love how they took advantage of all the chaos happening here, because EVOS is making it rain and rain from above. MEC not able to crawl out of the compound in peace, and the rest of the team are just gonna follow through here, launch padding straight into the area. Kagendra close as well. Now EVOS already got one pickoff already before meeting up with another team here, and Rasha and his teammates are just pressuring the other members trying to rotate in. RRQ in trouble. Ma'al, Dudes knocked down already. Jun as well, as the other two teams in the zone decide to put in that pressure and pain for the rest. And Kagendra is being hurled and damaged by EVOS as well. First one in the zone doesn't really matter because we have the firepower and the ability to swarm, and the unowned space will be refilled by RQ.
Oh, he was fine right now in a way to go in for the booyah, but RRQ is still fighting back, but a 1v4 wouldn't work, and Evo's Divine for that booyah. And I'm loving his storyline. Back-to-back has been happening twice already all throughout the day, and they will maintain the #1 spot. But I love the position as well as the timing that Evo's Divine has done in that final moment. Because I did mention earlier that no one is moving early into the fight. It was only Kagendra who jumped in. And that moment, Evo's Divine had position of where Kagendra is in already. Quick decision has been made to take that one rock onto the other side of that circle, and that's where Evo's Divine steamrolled and even clawed through everyone on that final circle.
I love that from EVOS as well. They weren't the first in that circle. They were second, but they really, I would say confidence is key, right? And they definitely had the key for that fight as well. Because if anything, they were the team. I was expecting Kagendra to really shoot them out from the sky there, but Kagendra was so busy and distracted by the other teams who are outside of the circle, they failed to realize that EVOS had already touched down. And with all that space, EVOS said, you know what, screw it. We're gonna rush through toward them, catch them off guard. All of their glue walls were toward the other side. It wasn't toward EVOS at all. That is insane how fast they reacted to be able to overcome Kagendra and also gatekeep the rest of the teams. But another thing that's making me really excited is that we had a lot of criticism coming to MEC before the show, right? In terms of their identity as a team, in terms of their firepower. But today, their one goal is one thing only: survive all the way up till the end. And they've been delivering. And sometimes that is enough to really keep you in the game, brick by brick, and they are definitely slowly building a wall.
Exactly. I mean, Magna Esports, what they're doing right now is going to the basics. Just basics of Battle Royale, basics of Free Fire Battle Royale to be exact, wherein survivability would be your best priority or your first priority. And that's what they're trying to do right now, to get the placement point. And once they're comfortable in getting those placement, the final circle, and then that's when they can go aggressive and deal with all those elimination. But for some teams, like switching over from a very passive to a very aggressive approach would be difficult. And one suggestion for Magna Esports right now, this is working for them, but one thing that they can tweak is their aggression from afar. Similar from what we've seen in Evo's Divine from AGAL. And the other teams that has a great sniper, because I know their sniper can also do the work. But let's bring it back to Evo's Divine. Aim God back on the board as he grabs that MVP in this game. And I'm loving that both Aim God as well as Abe is something is already stepping up into the game. Rather, Aim God and Ray. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused of Indonesian. Already stepping up in the front lines, giving that leeway for Russia to put in the damage. From what you've seen, being second on that final circle, the distance between them and the rest of the teams is their advantage. The CQZs, in most instances, that's where they falter, and they're just playing for the sense at that point.
Yeah, I think that also that for EVOS, honestly, in the beginning of the day, I was like, okay, EVOS, you guys are still putting in the numbers, you guys are consistent, but you guys are not able to win this last few fights. Positioning was a little bit unlucky as well. We start to see maybe Aim God or Ray get separated from the team, and suddenly everything falls apart because Russia wasn't able to take advantage of these, of these fights where your team is getting rushed, right? And this situation as well now, I think EVOS has finally really figured out how exactly to play off each other. This double rusher, Oscar and Tatsuya, gave them a lot to work with in those front lines. It allowed Rasha and his Skylar to be able to play from the back line, put in that pressure as well from different areas. And when you can't reach Russia, that's where the problem is happening.
Exactly. I mean, that's first priority if you're dealing with Evo's Divine, but they don't know that that's Evo's Divine that they're fighting against. So, game standings right now, 24 points being gathered by the Booyah Takers, the second Booyah Takers of the day. Evo's Divine, 12 and 12 from both placement and elimination. RQ is still on the board with 21, and Kagendra, we were doubting a little bit on what they can do, but Indonesia is on the roll at this point. But Evo's still on top with 20 points ahead of RRQ. Heavy, WAGGOW. They tried their best to survive, but it's just unfortunate that Heavy didn't put so much to close the gap between them and Evo Divine. And with that booyah, Evo Divine looked like they're running away with it. For Kagendra though, earlier we saw them a little bit at bottom, now they're in the middle, and if they continue on in their survivability, their passive aggressive approach, they might be part of the top 6 by the end of the day.
You know what's really insane? The fact of the matter is EVOS just really launched themselves all the way up to first place. That's a 20-point deficit between EVOS as well as RRQ. Now looking at the rest of the teams here, you know, BTR had a lot of presence in so many team fights around that map. I'm quite surprised that only at the very bottom here at the top at the 12th and only with 17 points. And in this situation here, BTR, what are you gonna do to play catch up? We only have one map left. Granted, there is still a bit of time for you to catch up tomorrow. But at the same time, in this situation, right, what are you going to do to be able to put yourself ahead of the team? Because at this situation, in this point, if you're not able to buckle up, if you're taking these early fights and not being able to completely wipe out a team properly, or be able to move around the map without getting caught out one by one, it's going to be a big problem.
Definitely a big problem indeed. And the Falcon Hunters is at a loss because there's no Falcon in this game.
Yeah, you're the Falcon Hunters. I mean, we saw them in the interview just now, right? They were like, okay, we're putting Falcons at 12th place. I don't care because they are our rivals. But in this situation, you can't hunt the Falcons if you don't make it into the next stage.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. That's one thing that they need to work on. Chris, Joe, I know you're listening, or you might be listening because you're in the game right now. I'm pretty sure you have something in plan to bury out or to bring out BTR from under that 12 spot or from under the rest of the teams. But it's tough though. It's tough to call because I know they made their mark to be the Falcon Hunters to show that aggression, but the other teams has already moved up their gameplay, adapted so much in aggression and the mix of both. And that's one reason as well why I keep saying the passive aggressive approach, because we've seen that from Royale United, we've seen that from Team Falcons, we've seen that with other teams who has great potential to be on a #1 spot. And if you can make those quick decisions in the game, in one map, and not waiting for the following map and hopefully the following day, then that's where you really put in so much of fight in terms of the leaderboard. And we're not seeing that yet from BTR. Expando, after being stuck in the 12, now they move up a little bit, tying with BTR, but they're still very low in leaderboard, joining Toda.
I have a question to ask you. We saw a bit about Toda, you mentioned Toda as well, right? Toda is going to be going through a substitution here. We're going to be seeing Vidas out and Zen in. In your opinion, what's the dynamic going to be looking like for this team?
Videls is, I don't know, for Videls, he's always a straggler. His first one is like either the first one to go down and then a straggler later on, because he will be revived and then will be dropping in a different spot. I think with Zen, there's not so much of confidence. I mean it in a good way. Not so much of confidence in going solo. So you go tactical, you like either give out information or you just take in those information and apply it for the team. That's one thing that is important right now for the team, to be able to like jive well in terms of communication as well as movement, because Kodak has that potential. We've seen that from the previous day of knockout stage, but slowly once they get probably a good Puya or a good game, and then it's like they're making an own version of their own curse compared to Puya takers.
So it's not really like about, you know, the enemies are our problems, our problem is ourselves type moment. I think it's more chemistry issue than anything from what I can hear from you. So I hope that with Zen coming in, this could be a change in pace, because I really would like to see this team, you know, they have potential, right? Firepower, teamwork, they have that as well, but they're just not able to just fully commit to these fights properly. Not being able to play off one another, I think, has been a plague now that you mention it. So good pick on that that as well. Now, coming into this one and going into Alpine, you did mention that for other teams, you know, it's going to be a big problem on this map. It's such a different map compared to the rest. I'm not sure if you put RRQ up there in terms of ranking for this particular map, but who do you think would be performing on this one?
Out of the record, RQ is number 1 despite of not getting any booyah. So
Every single map is RRQ? Like, actually?
Like, RRQ is always on the board, and that's what surprises everyone when they didn't perform from the previous week. And I don't know what's happening. Hopefully, this is something they can fix for the next, or from this day up until tomorrow, because they have put in so much of effort in being at number 1 spot in every map, but it's not showing most of the time. So if they can steal this away from Evo's Divine, probably the winning condition is take down Evo's Divine early and then grab that booyah or decent amount of elimination. They will be number 1 by the end of the day, and that secures them onto the grand finals if they continue it on for tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. I'm really curious right now on how exactly this last map is going to be here, coming in from the southern side all the way up to the northeast toward Railroad. It's going to be very fun. I think, again, Flight Path today, in my opinion, has been very, very merciful.
I mean, the flight path is not liking my is not going for my whim of being tough, but we've seen a slight...
What's the craziest flight path you've seen?
I was about to say, bro. Bro, it was way down south, and then the shift of the circle will be up north, where it never was caught off guard.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, it is. And most of the time, it happened in Purgatory. So Purgatory is already done, and I guess it lives with the name. But let's see though, Expand right now will try to go against GOW, and if they can expand their reign in this part, then they might be winning this game. But Demon, being that deadly on that P90, will bring down the rest of the teams. Only Waltz remain, and I don't think he will be waltzing in onto that vending machine. He needs plenty of time to recover the rest of the team. So Expand would be in a little bit of pause, and hopefully no one spots him.
Yeah, that's also unfortunate. I was really expecting for Expand to be having that upper hand in that fight. I'm just a big fan of like underdog stories. Let's be real here. You know, just cheering for the little guys, right? But anyways, yeah, I was expecting them to be able to come up on top. It's just so unlucky. It feels like GOW and that team fell at the same spot. It's just that GOW was faster on the uptake in this situation. They were quick to start. Expand just wasn't able to find that time to quickly, stabilize themselves to bring them back into the game. Losing 3 this early, I'm glad that Valves is able to just really get out of there to really prolong the survivability in this game. But because where he's going right now is just passing by Toda. If Toda picks him off, that will be the end of them. And it's the last map of the day. You're going to go down here as one of the bottom few tonight.
Hell, let's see though if they will keep themselves afloat. Team Flash right now, great backstab coming from Royale. And well, I did mention that Royale can bring in a little bit of passiveness, but a little bit of aggression as well on that M590. And I know Israel is the name of an angel, but I think at this point he's the angel of death. Now let's see if he can bring the same fight against Evo's Defy with Ray and Aim God, where that Bison and AUG combination is bringing the hard knock against BTR. And only one remains though. I'm not sure if Ezreal can survive.
No.
But 14 Flash, Koja is the only remaining. Ezreal has been brought back. So BTR is still alive, and Team Flash would be dealing with Evil's Divine.
Yeah, they can take a bit more time, just really figure out how exactly they want to approach this game once again, because Flash still is not done with EVOS. Now, you have Coach Hill rushing out alone at the bottom side. I'm pretty sure ABCD is marking him right now, but also have to remember, if he swings out to our ABCD, there's also an off angle that the rest of EVOS can abuse. As Flash runs down, spots out Coach Hill, breaks that glue wall quickly, and just demolishes him. Rasha and his teammate forced to find a different way forward! A nice off angle will be abused by another team in the corner here, and Flash not out of the woods, out in the open, and EVOS, they're rallying back, because how the heck do you kill my teammates and not expect to be traded back out here? Because Flash now, well, they are back into the game. Shin flying down in here. EVOS waiting like sharks in the water for his teammates to go down, but at the same time, BTR will be the one to steal away ABCD.
I mean, that was just Koja on an RGS plus a Trogon after Azrael has been revived. And BTR, I'm loving Koja at this point. He has managed to take that elimination leader by himself after the rest of the team has faltered and fallen down, and even managed to take down Russia with that Drogon. And that is just one guy. What more if everyone can move like him?
Insane. Heavy also here finds himself face to face with Flash, who are still limping from the last match fight here, excuse me. As it will finally be a knockdown here. Flash down and out. And this situation for Heavy right now, they're looking good. They can go, there's a lot of space to work with if you ask me. They can go a bit more aggressive, find the last few members of Flash. They want to farm it up as well, because we haven't really seen them back in the game since that first 2 booyahs they got in the early parts of the day here as well.
Oh, it seems like Esports has taken the top spot for a little bit too long now, and being brought down slowly. And this is what RRQ is praying for. Did mention the winning condition for RRQ, or to take the #1 spot, is for Esports to go down early. And it seems like it is happening, and unless the full revival will be done by Esports. Now for RRQ, or for Heavy rather, it's a hunt for one player of Team Flash. I'm quite sure if there's any information on that one player. But speaking of one player, Kochil, the only remaining, who has just been revived, nowhere to go but out of the circle and into probably vending machine, if not a revived platform. But on the other side, Vix would be taken down from the hands of Kagendra, and the rest of the teams right now is trying to go for the backup.
Oh no, Kagendra going to try and bring themselves back into the game, but BTR rushes forward, jump shot to the face, and Koja gets the one member of Easy for dead. CT7 trades, and Erab tries to play ring around the Rosie. Spots 2, quick to put down that glue wall just to give a bit of space once again to himself. The inhaler will be used quickly, but does he know there's one behind him? He's aware, but not fast enough to defend himself, and Erab will also fall here. BTR, this is a different look. They have 7 eliminations already, and they're getting so active in this last map.
Oh, definitely. I mean, 7 elimination, and Koja had 6 of that. Make that 8
That's
for
crazy.
the whole team. And Koja, after that RGS, that Drogon gameplay from the northern part before they went in for a rotate, definitely it is crazy for Bigatron. And I don't know what Chris Jaw talked to BTR about, but this is what we want BTR or Bigatron to show every match. And let's see now if they can add it up. 9 points already, and plenty of time to spare
Look
to add
at
more
the
to that
glue walls.
elimination.
Look at that. It's like a wormhole, right?
There's a great wall of Bigatron.
Yes. It's just like for them, just put one down every time Kagendra shoots at them, they put another one down, became like a nice little wormhole coming forward as well. Great stuff from this team here. It's a different look. It's definitely a different look. I think they definitely woke up. They saw themselves at 12 minutes. They're like, guys, we cannot be playing like this. This is not who we are as a team. We've never been playing like this before. As well. Oh, nice. Great opening straight to the head as well. Domed quickly. Russia eliminated here. RQ feels like just walking up and they're like, okay, wait, who is that? What are you doing here, buddy? Well, dead now.
There's no answering when you're gone.
Right?
RQ right now outside of blue, but still in the hunt. We are seeing one of the players, which is Kochil, who we saw earlier tried his best to survive, as well as to buy back one of their players, or if not a full squad. But let's see if the same goes with Team Flash. ABCD going solo at this point. Going against the Prince Pro, and Diamond with AC80 takes him down, and also the fall damage help, but it's more of how aggressive Diamond is. And the first point for Virtus Pro right now, they need to work on their rotation to survive a little bit longer.
I love Diamond. I think last time we saw like he got like what 3 kills all alone, just walks around, 3 eliminations all alone, walking around the map. It's something as well. He's just been so adept. I think it would be like the game perception that he has to be able to spot out stragglers fairly quickly, getting those pickoffs as well. And he's just keeping that same idea, playstyle momentum coming into this game as well. VP, I think they've done so many long rotations. They like getting a little bit more adventurous, just walking toward the very edges of the circle, hoping to catch another team trying to rush in, pressuring that blue. It's just great stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, long rotation is working for Virtus Pro because there's a good chance they might find stragglers, similar to what we've seen earlier, and also get away from the radar of the other teams. And we did talk about the binoculars, and staying in the compound would give you that risk. So if you're constantly moving, then there's less risk of that happening. But one thing is they need to move fast because second or third would hurt. Though the next phase of the circle is quite near, they need to find their place onto the next one. Otherwise, like real estate would be finished and they might not have anywhere to go later on. But I think it's quite open. It's quite clear. No one in the horizon. Virtus Pro has a clear opening on the next phase.
You know, that's why I like as well. I think VP throughout the entirety of the day, I think my biggest worry for them was them entering that zone a bit late, you know, being get capped out there. So many situations, yeah, they fall. But because they have so many eliminations already, just roaming around the map, you know, going through team fights fairly early as well, they were able to just really sustain toward the middle side of the pack when it comes to points. So I think their idea in mind is to try and become the Grim Reaper, walk around, gatekeep people outside of the circle. And I think what's really nice as well is the fact that because you have Diamond, who's both adept at long range and mid range fights, that allows his team so much different flexibility in types of fights they want to approach.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with you. Diamond with Nameless in the backup, connected with that basic therapy, really is a strong frontliner and does have a long-range capability as well. It's more of, though the team has been together for quite some time, I think with the loss of their, like Saming, and now Exposé is their sniper, they're still working in getting back into groove of that aggression because the passive is one thing that they are working on right now. And then once a knockdown happens, that's where Diamond and Nameless will just be, opening up the gates for the team. But let's see though if that would happen later on for Virtus Pro because the rest of the teams are scrambling. And speaking of Virtus Pro, Heavy would be the next contender in this fight together with another team on the other side, which is Makta Esports, but we didn't see it coming. GOW just took out Expand.
Yeah, that was happening off the screen as well. And I feel like this scene is very, very familiar till today. Those really aggressive areas where there's just so many teams at the same time. Coach Hill got knocked down already. They're somewhere off screen here. But the fight between VP, MEC, and Heavy hasn't started quite yet. Heavy is looking so hard to get their head back into the game after the 2 successful booyahs they had in the beginning of the day. But they haven't been able to replicate as much success as they did before. Now, VP and them are just side by side, so close off from each other here. But meanwhile, for EVOS, they're trying to break into this compound held by Toda. And Toda, the Fishes are just struggling. Toda lang guys, they say in Bahasa Malaysia right now, but can they actually hit onto the members of EVOS here? The glue walls are just mounting and mounting. They cannot break into the area at all. And sustaining so much damage from the util. Coachil, low, Ray knocked down by GOW as well. Russia as well will be the one to fall next as AimGod's barely alive here. The only one fairly healthy is Coachil, and I don't think he's going to be able to do anything to get out of the situation here. Maybe steal away an elimination? Maybe not here because for Heavy, they're getting active too. Because for VP on the outside, putting damage onto them already here, but they have made it a mean grinder inside of their compound.
Oh, Virtus Pro, despite of the effort on the long flank, are faltering right now against Team Heavy. We're going back to what happened earlier. I mean, EVOS could have put in a better fight, but that was GOW who's putting so much of pressure on them, and Team Flash is just paying them forward what they did for EVOS Divine. Now, Virtus Pro would be eliminated, and Team Flash would have their 8th elimination as well. Even Heavy will be taken out. So as you can see, the board right now, it's just a skip number of who's still surviving and RRQ. Only 1 elimination, but if they can do so much of damage out of 20 teams or 20 players or survivors together with them, then they can add it up with the Booyah if they take the Booyah and probably take over the reins of the number 1, but no one's taking that number 1, or no one's aiming for number 1. As long as you're on top of the board, that's good enough for them.
Yeah, but it's looking very hectic right now as well. As Bliss1 also get knocked out already from the other side. RQ tried their best to be able to survive and just try and get the kills. Those eliminations onto WAG. As TQ already knocked down here, they need that elimination secure. They're not able to do so quite yet. But the rest of WAG being fairly quiet inside the compound, moving in tandem with that blue, and then just cut the noise. Make RRQ question where exactly they're gonna go as we move toward Flash this time around. What a swing! Putting in that damage, but it's the Axel that gets knocked onto Shin and June as well onto Death. Flash tried their best to bring themselves back into the game, but the amount of bodies thrown out here by MEC is too much to handle. And ABCD, last man standing, MEC also barely alive. But Jan's gonna rush forward here, all alone. Flash eliminated, June in the corner as well, trying to bring themselves back alive.
And I thought MEC or Magna Esports is going to lose that fight, and that could have been a great clutch. But, well, numbers is an advantage for them. Now, speaking of numbers, we only have 4 teams remaining at this point. A complete squad for Todak as well as RRQ, and as well as Picatron for Vitality. And Magna Esports only lost 1 player in there. So it might be chaos on this side between RRQ and Todak. And again, not quite sure what the motivation is for Bigatron right now, but it is working. But it seems like they have better advantage to get a lot of elimination from this fight between Todak and RRQ if they choose to do so, and they are doing it.
Oh, Noki just rushed in all alone here, and the rest of Todak were not able to follow through, and one by one they fall like flies. Zen needs to be picked up, but Fai's all alone here, barely alive. The blue zone hitting him with his life, and he falls. We are now down to our last 3, with the most amount of bodies to BTR. MEC close by with only 1 man deficit here, and RRQ now getting completely swarmed by the members of BTR. Ma'al falls, 18 Deer trying his best to stay alive and hidden in a corner, and he's not been spotted quite yet.
Let's see though, BTR on a road to the greatest comeback ever in this fight. But let's see if they can survive and grab this buoy against MEC. Only 2 remains for Magna Esports, and June goes down. Jans would follow if he will be targeted by Koja as well as Dix. Recovery is being prioritized by Dix right now on Israel, and the Axel joining the fray, not on the sniper, but on the N590, and this might be it. A 1v3 is bound to happen. His pickup has been done. Bigatron by Vitality has regained their vitality in this game and grabbing that booyah.
Definitely woke up right in the nick of time. This team starts to get aggressive. They are picking up eliminations left, right, and center. And most importantly, a classic example of Raja comeback, or the king of comebacks from Indonesia. Love to see it coming from this team as well. And honestly, in that particular fight, the very end there, I was so sure they were cooked. It looked like MEC was the one to come up on top. But their quick thinking to be able to bring the teammates back into the game really overcame MEC and shocked them. What an insane way to end today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is insane coming from Bigatron Esports. And I know we talked about how low they are in the leaderboard. Before the game, they were on 12. But how high can this bring the team? Because I don't think there's so much that they can do from 17, adding this booyah to get close to 94 that Evo's Divine has brought in. But it shows the sign that Bigatron has what it takes to grab a booyah. It's more of the consistency that they need to do to make sure that they go into Grand Finals.
Yeah, and it's actually crazy, right, when you think about it, because what Vietnam did, a back-to-back booyah plus an extra one from, I think it was WAG, is replicated now in the second half of the day by Indonesia. It's EVOS back-to-back, followed by BTR. This is a very interestingly funny day. Whatever patterns or curses that you want to talk about, very applicable. I will accept all of it, even though I'm a non-believer. Now, talking about BTR, I loved in terms of how they're playing. Their fancy footwork honestly kept them alive. It was almost replicated by MEC as well. But for BTR, their priority is have one player keep the other members of MEC busy, put up those blue walls as a barricade to be able to bring your teammates back into the game and completely swarm. And MEC, while they're just so tunneled by that one player from BTR, they didn't realize that BTR had other things happening from behind the screens. It's just a great game of, of distraction, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, knowing that Bigatron has that Cassie available for them, the name of Dix, as well as a Viva for a quick pickup on that final circle, and then that is very applicable right now. If it was balanced between Magne Esports and Bigatron, that would be the game changer. Being connected with the basic therapy, switching to focus therapy later on if needed by the rusher, and then going for that quick pickup later, like once someone has been knocked down, can really flip the script into that game. That was a 2v2, turned to a 3v1 real quick, and Bigatron has managed to grab that booyah. But I'm still questioning. I'm still asking, is it just a one-off? Is Bigatron not showing that much of stats in the beginning? Or we might see more of this later on, especially as if it looks like it is well planned.
Honestly, I think that for BTR, it's just a matter of finding that groove. And I think they really struggled today to find that. Once they figured it out, I mean, yeah, it's a bit late last map, but it was bombastic. So I would just give it to them that they were able to have an insane comeback recovery coming into this game. Now, for Kakendra, you know, I thought they would be able to be a bit more aggressive there. They could, honestly, this fight could have made or break it for BTR. Because if they weren't able to overcome Kakendra this early, it might have been a different situation. If they were caught off guard early, they lost members early as well. The game sense from this team is phenomenal. Koja taking the MVP, also very poetic. I think it's great because when you see him in the interviews, he's a very, I would call him arrogant. That's not the word. Confident. He's a very confident guy. You know, he knows what he's capable of, and it translates into his gameplay here using that coda.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Koja with a coda has decoded the game overall, especially in that earlier fight. He pulled out the grenade launcher, the RGS, and then switch over for a Drogon. It still couldn't leave my mind how he was alone against two teams, and he still managed to get all those eliminations even before the second or third phase of the circle. It was just disgusting.
Yeah, he got 9 knockdowns this entire game as well. So he was the one who's doing a lot of the damage to many of these teams. Now, again, I think the priority of vision here is something that's key to this team as well. You have a Coda, you have your Arvons as well, right? Which really, especially in that final circle, if you're able to cycle through your abilities very well, gives you so much value on how exactly you want to approach that final fight. And I think that BTR was able to fully, I would say, abuse this situation as well. Love to see that for them as well. Gives them 30 points toward the end of the day when you add that on with that placement points as well. This is just coming in as a majority of teams today. I think it's interesting today because we're seeing a lot of patterns, right? 30 points, back-to-back booyah, one country rising to the top, you know, crazy things happening. We've seen more of that as well. But looking at the bottom of the scoreboard here, Xpan ended up going out without any eliminations or placement points. That should really, I would say, hurt them at the end of the day as well, because it's not going to be easy to play catch up as number one, and number two, a big lead has been made by so many different teams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I would suggest Xpan do, if they can do it, is like replicate what BTR has done today. From the bottom up until the 7th place, a huge jump. Like
that's not
a
easy.
huge jump from 12 to 7 in just one game. And I mean, I know it's surprising. I'm speechless right now on how it ended up for BTR, but if they can do it overall up until tomorrow, then they would secure that gold spot on the top 6. For those of you who are new to the format, this is the last 2 days, today and tomorrow, for the knockout stage, and that coveted spot, the coveted 1 to 6 spot, puts them into the grand finals on the next week.
I completely, it's really scary when you think about it as well. Xpan, if you want to catch up here, is 17 to 56. That's almost like what, a 40 point jump, just to make it forward. You can pull a BTR, yeah. You can get that in what, 2 maps if you're able to do so consistently. But the biggest problem Xpan had today for me is just chemistry. They looked a bit lost. They didn't know how to execute with each other. A team fight happens. They're all over the place, and I'm like, okay, what's your game plan here? What's your layering look like looking like? Who is your first contact, and who exactly is the support? Because you gotta really figure out how to be able to rely on one another, because you don't look like a team right now. And meanwhile, as we look at the best predators of week 6 day 1, are you surprised at this outcome?
Oh, not really surprised, because we've seen RRQ, especially Maal, being that annoying guy from a distance who brought in so much pain for the other team. And I know we didn't see so much from RRQ, but there's just a lot of promise for this team staying in the second, following the team of the day are Evo's Divine with 94 points. I know this is quite low in terms of numbers, but
I was so
average,
sure they're gonna
100
hit
points.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was so sure they're gonna hit that triple digit today with how they were playing, you know? That was just crazy when you look at them as well. And for now, I think I'm really curious to see who exactly Yunsol will be talking to as well. I mean, we heard a little bit from Heavy in the first half of the day as well, in terms of what their difficulties were on being able to come back into this last chance, what they wanted to fix as well. So I loved hearing that for them. For you personally, who do you want to hear the interview later?
I want to hear the interview from Bigatron, but I don't think given that a chance. But right now we're going to go in for the interview and hear what the team has to say. So let's bring it on.
All right, survivors! Welcome to Indonesia's interview session. I'm here with AimGod from EVOS Divine, who is now sitting comfortably on top with 94 points. Hi!
Hi.
Today was such an amazing day for EVOS. Obviously, we can see that you guys have collected 94 points and closing today's match day with being the number 1. How does it feel to be on top? Hari ini adalah hari yang sangat luar biasa EVOS, ya kita bisa lihat sendiri lah ya. Sekarang mengoleksi 94 poin, berhasil finish di urutan 1 dari today standings. Gimana rasanya berhasil menjadi sang pemuncak klasemen hari ini?
Bersyukur, alhamdulillah.
Bersyukur, alhamdulillah. Singkat banget jawabannya, diplomatis sekali.
Gak apa-apa.
Gak apa-apa.
Soalnya masih ada hari besok juga.
Benar banget. He's very grateful for today's results, and obviously he's still trying to focus on tomorrow because we still have another day to fight for the top 6 positions. And speaking about tomorrow, is there any specific strategy that you guys have been preparing for tomorrow's matches? Ada strategi spesifik nggak yang udah dipersiapkan untuk besok? Karena ya tadi kamu bilang sendiri juga, hari ini masih belum apa-apa, besok masih akan ada perjuangan yang tidak kalah berat.
Ya mungkin ada, tapi
rahasia. Oh belum tahu, kirain bakal bilang rahasia.
Betul. Karena kan harus nonton ulang dulu match-match yang tadi.
Benar. So they're going to review today's match day to see how the other team performs, and obviously they're going to try and find a new solution, find a better solution to achieve more tomorrow. But he's pretty confident that he can do that, and they can evaluate themselves to perform their best tomorrow on our final day before moving on to the grand finals. Last question, being the 4th predator of the day, just falling slightly behind Ray, how does it feel for you to get that achievement? Apa rasanya jadi predator keempat, hanya beda tipis aja sama Ray di urutan ketiga? Ini kan pencapaian yang sangat luar biasa ya. Kalau pandangan kamu sendiri sebagai pro player dapat achievement kayak gini tuh gimana sih?
Nggak ada. Biasa aja.
Biasa aja? Nggak kayak malah jadi merasa, waduh gue happy banget, ada bonus atau apa gitu, nggak? Enggak?
Enggak.
Oke, tapi happy dong pasti dong.
Biasa aja.
Ih, masa sih? Yaudah kalau gitu gue aja jadi predator deh biar gue happy ya. Okay, so he's not, he said that it's nothing special. He just wants the best for the team. It's not about his personal accomplishments, but about how EVOS Divine perform as a unity, as a team. So being the predator is of course making him feel happy, but yeah, just nothing special. He wants to see EVOS get the best that they can instead. All right, thank you so much for having this conversation. I'll see you guys next time. Congratulations once again and good luck for tomorrow. Okay, sekarang kita akan kembali kepada para casters. We're gonna go back to the casters. Take it away, caster.
Thank you very much, Caroline and EVOS Divine. After grabbing a couple of booyahs for today, it's just 2 regions showing up, and we'd love to see more. But so far, it's not the end of the knockout stage. We still have one more day on the last chance, and a last chance as well, last day for the team to reach the top 6. I am Neptune Jen Garcia, joined by the one and only Tash Bunny, and we enjoyed casting today. See you again next time.